It is. Manchester United's officially worst start in some 33 Premier League seasons. So, Merce, the question feels now, will he change or will the club make a change?
Well, he ain't changing. He's told us that, hasn't he?
We said even the Pope won't make him change.
Well, Pope's a City fan, so he ain't going to be fussed about what he says, is he? So, for me, I don't see him lasting too much longer. I don't. He's stuck in his ways, and I get his ways, don't get me wrong. He's managed, he's come through, done an unbelievable job at Sporting. He's got one of the best jobs in the world of football, and he got that for one reason, for playing the way he played at Sporting. Now he's come in, it hasn't gone, and he believes in the way he plays. And if he gets a sack here, he'll go to another club, he'll play free at the back, and he'll be successful. If he'd have gone to Chelsea, he'd have been a smash. He'd have been a hit. He'd have been amazing.
Really?
100%, 100%. Chelsea have the players to play free at the back. They've got wing-backs in Gusto, Cucurella, James. Even Neto could have played there. You know, they've got players that can get up and down. They're two of your most important players when you play free at the back. Your free defenders, you usually play free at the back because your defenders ain't very good, your centre-halves. So that's why you play free at the back. Then he's got two holding midfield players, which whether that be James comes in and plays with Casado or Lavia when he's fit. Then you've got Fernandes and Palmer with the lap up front, or João Pedro up front. There's so many options. You look at this Man United team and it's just not made for free at the back. It's just not made for it, and that's the problem. That is the problem for me. If he'd have gone to Chelsea, don't get me wrong, Maresco's doing a good job, but if he'd have gone, it would have suited the way he wants to play, and this is not. And I just think it's a matter of time. I'd be shocked if Chelsea didn't get a result. And if I was Chelsea today, I would go and match up.
Yeah,
I would match up because they've got better players all round the pitch in them positions. And
listen to Wayne Rooney talking this week on this, Clinton. I mean, he says under Amorim that they've got even worse. And you look at what we were talking about last year under Ten Hag, you think, well, how is that even possible? But you look at this table here, and a lot of people have been talking about this over the course of the last week or so, of the ever-present size, which obviously doesn't include the size that went down last season. Since he arrived at the club, they would sit absolutely squarely at the bottom on 31 points, only below Tottenham on goal difference. How have things got even worse under Amorim? Because there's the proof, they have.
Because he's a stubborn man. I just think he's stubborn. He can.
It's more than that, though,
no, it is more than that. But let me tell you something. Why do you keep playing that formation? You can hear everyone saying it. Everyone in the press keeps saying to him, "Why you keep?" I know he lives and dies by that formation, but that's not helping him at Man United. He's
but he said in his press conference yesterday, and when he spoke to David Craig as well, brilliant interview, by the way. Have a look at it on YouTube. And he talked about his philosophy. He talked about that being something that was lacking under Ten Hag, the lack of an identity as well. He's got an identity. He's got a philosophy,
his identity
but it's not working.
So you need a plan B. Most managers have a plan B.
But that's an admission of failure for him, though, isn't
but
it?
Sometimes if you want to keep your job side, you have to hold your hand up.
Does he want to keep his job? So he keeps coming out and making comments,
with what he's saying at the moment, who knows what's going to happen there. But you can see their best player is Bruno Fernandes. No, but wait 1 minute, Wes. Their best player is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is not good in a 2. He's not good in a 2. You don't want to play him in one of the 10s because you've got Mbeumo, Cunha or Mason Mount, and you want him to get on the ball and make things happen. So why don't you go and say 4-3-3 and play him in the number 10 role where you see Bruno Fernandes has been brilliant for Man United for many years in that position. He's their best player. Get the best out of your best player, and he's not doing that at the moment. So no one is good enough.
Say he goes, right, and he goes today and he goes, you know what, I'll go 4-3-3 or I'll go 4-4-2. I listen to everybody else. It doesn't work.
It might not work.
But how would you feel if it was you and you're listening to other people?
No, I get what you're saying.
But it's just listening to other people. That's like you going on social media and people saying bad things about you and you go, oh, all right, I better change. I better not be too honest. I better be fair. And that's what you're doing.
It's went too far. Because he's been that stubborn now for a period of time, he can't be seen to be changing now because he's stuck to his principles. I think if you go back through and you speak about elite managers for a number of years now, one thing that always jumped out was their adaptability. They could change in-game. I don't see this. And I think sometimes when you just keep doing the exact same thing, I can totally understand if you're looking and saying, I've got the players that can play this formation, but it's not the case. I mean, Luke Shaw has never been a left-sided in a 3. It just can't. He's more of an attacking threat when he's fit. He's more of an attacking threat down that left-hand side, but it is just square pegs and round holes for Manchester United. And for me, there's only going to be one outcome because there is no way. I think when you listen to Ruben Amorim, I mean, I thought it would have worked when you look back at what he would have done, but the reality is it's a huge step up from Portugal to the English Premier League, the step up from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United. I think he's a very, very good speaker, very good communicator, He's as honest as the day's long when you listen to him. Maybe that's what a lot of Manchester United fans wanted, because that's what they got under Sir Alex Ferguson. When it wasn't good, he would come out and lambast him. He would have a go. But the reality is, this ain't going to work. This is never going to get fixed now.
And so 19th of October is the next international break. And after that, their first game on the 19th of October it's Liverpool away. Do you think he makes it that far?
Oof, that's tough, isn't it? It can't keep going on as it's going on. I think you just look at the fixtures there. Obviously, the game against Chelsea, that's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But like Boydie said, the best managers, they adapt, they evolve. You know, you look at Pep Guardiola, one of the best managers in the world. And he's quite happy at times to just go long if he needs to. He's quite happy to sit back. He's quite happy to play through thirds. He can do different things. He can adapt. Sometimes we look at the team sheet with Manchester City and you go, I've no idea where they're going to play, because he can do that on a regular basis. Whereas he is just, that is his principles, that is his way, and he will stick to that no matter what. And they obviously recruited in those attacking areas, and you thought, well, yeah, they needed to bring in more goals and more creativity. But I still think that midfield area is lacking. Every time I watch Manchester United, they're overrunning midfield and they don't have that real sort of athletic midfielder. Like Clinton was saying, you know, you're playing Bruno Fernandes in the holding midfield role. I get you want to get him on the ball and be creative, but at times he gets caught so much from a defensive perspective. So it's about getting the best out of your players.
Yeah, but the other thing is, well, when you listen to the rubbish that came out during the week, we're OK in between box to box.
Yeah.
Well, games are won in between, in the box and out the box.
Kind of missing out quite a big.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where they're won and lost games of football.
That was
you know, it's just like,
worrying,
I mean, what is it you're trying to say?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. As I said, for me, looking at it right now, Manchester United, I mean, got enough problems with the club up the road, more or less the exact same.
we may come on to that.
We'll come on to that later. But I mean, it's the same thing. When you go back to, you know, the 90s and both teams were dominant in their leagues, you look at it right now and you know, it's difficult to build a case for you know, either club to start winning again on a regular basis. I mean, Manchester United fans are obviously they've went from winning nearly every year to you know, it's not happening as well now. But what's rubbing in even more, Liverpool started winning again, Manchester City have always won, and you feel as if you could see if Ruben Amorim was starting to get improvement, you could say, right, let's stick by him because there is improvement. We can't keep changing managers. But there's no improvement, and that table there, since he comes in, just sums that up. There is no improvement. There's been an absolute fortune spent again, and when does it stop?
Yeah, and I mean, he's still yet to name the same side for back-to-back Premier League games. They've had the most shots in the Premier League, but only scored with 5.7% of those. They've never won back-to-back Premier League games under Ruben Amorim. And coming back to Bruno Fernandes, Merce, you look at that game against Man City last weekend. He had no touches in the opposition box. Patrick Dorgu has 12. If ever you wanted an indication that system just ain't working, and it's not working for Bruno Fernandes, that's it.
It hasn't been working for a long time with him, an absolute long time. You know, he's a better manager than all us on here, a much better manager, and we can see it. That's the worry. We can see it, but he wants to stick the way he wants to play, and that's the way it is. I have no qualm with that. I just, you know, he got to where he got to by playing his way, and he ain't going to change for people like us sitting and pundits and fans. You know, he got there with the way he wants to play, and he'll go. And when he leaves, if he does, he will be double successful wherever he goes. You watch. He will be successful.
But how does he not change it, though, Merce? How can he not see to change it?
You know what? He ain't got any defenders. The fullbacks are not good enough. The two defenders are not good enough.
Then that's
so there's your whole back four. He went the other way, as Sue said. He went for goals. He looked at it and thought, we're always going to let in goals. We're not that great at the back. So what I'm going to do, I've got to buy attacking forwards. I've got to buy players that are going to score me goals.
It's difficult. You can sit in and nick a game 1-0. Which we've seen with successful managers.
But it is Manchester United.
But that's what I'm saying. But you can.
Man United.
But you can do it.
Yeah, Man United.
I'll tell you what, if you go and speak to Manchester United fans right now,
they might have it for a couple of weeks now, the way it is, but they ain't going to live with that for the rest of their life.
It's easier to build a defensive unit and be able to then go forward. And you say he's done it back to front. He's went and signed strikers, but they ain't going to score 3 and 4 goals every week to win your game.
I mean, it's a massive question mark over recruitment yet again, isn't it?
100%. 100%.
Massive.
I mean, we've said it for long enough. I mean, Manchester United have went from... I mean, it was a retirement home for a lot of players at the end of their career. It was just bomb, spending a lot of money. Now they've kind of moved away, and I think if you go back, I felt as if there was a lot of players maybe, you know, that hungry for the next step. When you think of the recruitment a couple of seasons ago, that's not been the case this time. It's just, I mean, you look at the defensive unit, and I mean, De Ligt, the Ajax way was to play out from the back. Shaw has never been a left-sided of a three. Euro he was a back four. It's all disjointed, and you're already under enough pressure at Manchester United to win games of football. They're not helping themselves.
Do you know who's important? So I know we need to move on. You know?
Yeah, we do.
That formation.
So this better be good.
Yeah. Do you know what's important in that formation? The wing backs. Because I tell you now, Palace play that brilliantly, and they have Munez and Mitchell, and Munez creates loads of chances. So it's their recruitment. We can move on now, Si. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Not just a director, pundit,
producer,
and almost a presenter as well. You're not going to be a producer,
nah,
that is
no
for
chance.
sure. Right, we're done. We're done. We're done on Manchester United. See you for more same time next week.
Our momentum into their season, and certainly that's improving their home form. You still use question marks over the midfielders and defensively or whatever, but you got people like Bruno who can get you out of jail every now and again, and obviously it does help when you get a helping hand from Chelsea's decision-making, particularly from the goalkeeper. But it's an important win, and it just hopefully gets United, particularly new players to the club, when they can win at Old Trafford and get a bit of excitement going, yeah, this is good. You know, winning gives you that good feeling. And certainly the manager would feel better for it, because after the City game, we were all there to criticise it, wasn't good enough. But a few wins, bit of confidence, momentum, and hopefully they can build on that. But a long way back, obviously.
I just wanted to go back to Chelsea, Kelly, actually, because I said about the manager didn't cover himself in glory, maybe, you know, with the changes he made in the first half. It was a bit messy, but listen, you're down to 10 men, you lose the game. And I think Chelsea supporters now at the moment think I've got it in for them, because me and him had a big argument a few days ago. But I actually think the manager's done a brilliant job since he's been there. I mean, he's coming in year one. He's got them Champions League football. They were never in contention for the title, so Champions League football through the league. He's won the competitions he was in. Does brilliant to, you know, not just beat Paris Saint-Germain, but really, you know, take them to the cleaners in the World Club Championship. My criticism with Chelsea is the actual 3.5 years they've been there in terms of a club, and how you can still have that team. And we're saying no chance for the league. And Chelsea fans know that. If you go back to Chelsea teams winning the league, who did they have as goalies? Czech and Courtois. That just tells you all you need to know as a Chelsea fan. And my big problem with Chelsea is how, nothing to do with Maresca as such, but how 3.5 years in, with the money that's been spent, you turn up to Old Trafford with the goalkeeper and the centre-backs that you've got. That just, it can't win you the league. There's no league in 100 years where the standard of those players in those positions for Chelsea right now can win the league. It just can't happen.
But they can finish potentially in the top four. Where can Manchester United finish? Just in, I think it feels like it changes every week, and I feel like we're asking you the same question every week.
No, I'm going to stick with what I kind of said at the start of the season. I still think about 8 or 9 would be decent for United. I really do. Again, you turn up you're not sure what you're going to get. Obviously, it helps when the goalkeeper gets sent off, and you've got people like Bruno. But I still think that's not enough. I still think United are looking at maybe 8 or 9.
In terms of the squad for tomorrow's game, how's Mason Mount, Mateus Cunha, Martinez, Dalot?
Dalot is out. Mace is in the squad. In Cunha is in the squad. Licha still out. I think that is it.
Obviously, some windows have shut around Europe since we've had a chance to speak to you. What's the situation with Tyrell Malacia?
He's returning to the contact with teammates and the ball in the under 21, and then we will see.
We're led to believe that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was here yesterday. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on at the club, but everybody kind of focuses on you. Could you just tell us what you spoke about with him?
New contract. He was offering me a new contract. And no, it's normal things, just to show the support, explaining that is a long project. He said many times this is my first season. For me, it's not. But normal things. Spoke with him, with Omar, with Jason, just trying to see all the data around the team. So a normal meeting, and we had several. But in this moment, it's normal. People pay attention to that.
I mean, I understand you will appreciate the support, I'm sure. But you also know you do have to win matches, don't you?
Ah, that is, guys, this is football, and this is the club with more pressure maybe in the world. But we want to win. And again, I think we are. You can say whatever. And I think last year I was a lot of very critical of the way we play. I think we are playing well until the boxes, defending and attacking. We need to be more aggressive in the boxes. We need to be more clinical. The rest, I think we are improving in comparing to last year. I think we are in the better place. But again, we need to win. We lost against Arsenal and we lost against City. And here losing, especially in the beginning after last season, is a problem.
Afternoon, Ruben. You said after the City game that there are a lot of things that have happened in the last few months that we don't know about. Appreciate you might not be able to say everything, but can you give us some context as to the type of things?
No, guys, you know more or less, and you are here for a while, and you have your sources, so you know what I was talking about. But now I'm focused on Chelsea.
I just wanted to ask you, in terms of Chelsea, the returning Alejandro Garnacho to Old Trafford. You talked about him needing a new environment when he left the club. Just wonder what conversations did you have with him to kind of conclude that would be best for him in his career?
Garnacho is not our player. I'm focused in our play. We have. I'm really happy with Mason and Cunha returning. That is my focus, and then the rest you have to talk with the Chelsea manager.
Simon?
Hey, Ruben. You've had a full week with the players, so I'm just wondering what you've managed to do this week and how helpful it's been to have that time with them.
Yeah, we use the time to analyze the last game and to analyze the next game and to prepare different things. I think we are playing well until we reach the boxes. We need to be more clinical, and if you see the number of shots, the XG, all these things are good, but if you don't score, it doesn't matter. If you don't win games, then again, I said it after the last game, the way we suffer the goals, we can avoid that. We are being naive. We need to be more aggressive in order to win games. We just have to maintain to play the way we are playing, but improving on the opponent's box in our box. That was the focus of the week, especially if you play against Chelsea. That is the team that when he crosses, he has more guys inside the box. And we suffer a little bit against Fulham, and we work a lot during the week to be better on that. So it's always the same cycle, is to analyze what we did wrong in the weekend and to improve for the next weekend.
Potentially the start of some good news for Lisandro Martinez. He posted a picture this week of him running out on the grass again, and while I appreciate he's probably a little way away from coming back yet because he's been out for so long, what might that do for him, maybe mentally at least?
It's really important. When you have that injury, you have a time that you recover a lot of things really fast, and then there is a boring part that you are just, it looks like you don't go to the next step. We miss a lot Licha. Especially in this moment, we misses the aggression, how aggressive he is in everything he does. I think we miss him, but always there in every meeting, in every training. Sometimes if he finishes the training and stays there to watch the training. I think we need Licha in this team.
Only one place to start, and that is at Old Trafford and the Sunday Times, where there was red relief for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim. Mark, you were at that game yesterday. Crazy game, wasn't it? But could the manner of that win and perhaps the fight that Manchester United's players seemed to show be, I know we've heard this before, be the turning point for United and Amorim?
It could be quite galvanising. I think obviously the result is the most important thing. They got 3 points in the top half of the table now, which makes a difference, just changes the mood a little bit. They've got a couple of games which they'd expect to win coming up, Brentford away, Sunderland at home. So this may be the start of things, but I know we've been talking prior to this that it always feels like the start of something for Man United, but it never quite is. But yesterday, you're right about the tenacity the players showed. I mean, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Matthias de Ligt in particular, there were some real battles on the pitch. I mean, Luke Shaw and Enzo Fernandez were at it all through the game. And what that did, it got the supporters on the United side, as well as the performance, it showed the players actually cared. They were actually desperate to, get a tackle in. But they started well, which they haven't done enough recently. Started well, scored the goal. Obviously, the situation with the goalkeeper, the Chelsea keeper, helped. But it did end a little bit nervously. But they got the result, they got a positive outcome, and that's what they've got to build on now, because it's been way too negative so far this season.
Go on, Craig.
So you said there, Mark, we were talking beforehand, that was quite measured compared to what you said off there. But yeah, the problem Manchester United have got, and it's a nice problem to have, I suppose, in a way, is that they'll always have enough good players to keep bad managers in a job. And we've seen that for 12 years now, post Sir Alex Ferguson. They have got good players, of course they have. It's Manchester United. They've actually bought quite well in the summer with Mbeumo and Cunha in particular. And we saw the impact Mbeumo had last night. But you look at Amorim, and yes, in the isolation of last night, it did feel as if the players were fighting for the badge, and by extension, you could say fighting for the manager too. But I think we're just delaying the inevitable. And you go back to his pre-match comments, and listen, as journalists, we're not going to do down quotes like, you know, not even the Pope will change me. That's wonderful. But the more you listen to this guy, the more it just doesn't feel right. And he's absolutely wedded to a system now. Now, being wedded to a system and having beliefs, there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen Pep Guardiola, Eddie Howe, Jurgen Klopp and others, but those guys are wedded to winning formulas, winning strategies. This guy is wedded to one that doesn't work, and he will not change. And yes, while yesterday was a good victory, and, you know, we touched on there the fighting for each other, but I honestly think with Ruben Amorim now, it's keeping a bad manager in a job. And there's a big enough body of evidence now. We're approaching a year in November. Going into this weekend, it was 31 points from 31 games. They were 17th out of 17 teams who've been in the league in that time. That, for me, tells you he's not the right man.
John, what Craig is saying there leads me nicely to a piece in The Observer from Rory Smith. Ailing United need a plan and the nerve to see it through, just like Liverpool. And Craig was mentioning that formation. Rory says, it is now a weekly ritual that Amorim appears in front of the mass ranks of the media and is asked several times in severally subtle but significantly different ways if he might like to change his system. He's starting to get creative with his answers. He's often quite funny, as though he recognises the absurdity of the situation. On Friday, he managed to crowbar in a mention of the Pope. Now, Craig mentioned the formation and how he is so wedded to it. Are we making too much about how he's wedded to the formation? Because we shouldn't forget that under Erik ten Hag, they were playing a back four and they weren't playing very well then either.
We're not making too much of it because I think it highlights Amorim's inflexibility and basically his unwillingness to change. Honestly, it's ridiculous. He has got a squad which, in my view, is made for a 4-2-3-1 system. He's got a proper selection of players there that would fit it in. And by the way, that system would then accommodate Bruno Fernandes. What you are doing with his back three system is alienating your best player, Bruno Fernandes, who I have to say played well yesterday. Why? Because basically at times, you know, for the majority of the game, you know, kind of United were well, it certainly felt like it, that basically up against 10 men and, you know, they had a bit more freedom. It was a chaotic game, wasn't it? It was absolutely madness at times. But then actually we saw Bruno Fernandes in the game. Whereas so many games this season, it's felt like Fernandes has got lost. The system's not working. Honestly, you know, players make systems, not vice versa. It's ridiculous. And it's almost tiresome, and it has become almost boring about it. And I think it's a concern. I do like Amorim. I want him to succeed. You know, he is kind of, you can't help but like the guy. He sort of stands in front of the cameras and basically he's quite, you know, inventive and sort of different. But it's just, I don't know that it's going to work. And there's me, and I was thinking at the start of the season, I really thought United would have a good season this season because of their recruitment. I like the front three that they've got. They've obviously yet to really kind of flourish together as a trio. And it's not working. There's a couple of things that really struck me yesterday. Harry Maguire, I thought he had such an important game. So important to United from a leadership point of view. They're lacking leadership on the pitch. I thought they looked so much better when he was on the pitch. And then, you know, the last 20 minutes, he's off the pitch and it's all falling apart. And I honestly think if Chelsea had scored 15 minutes earlier than they did, they would have won the game.
I mean, that's a good point, actually, because there's a trend there for Amorim taking his centre-half off late in the game, whether they're winning, losing or drawing. And I'm conscious of the fact that they won yesterday, so I know we're going to be accused of being negative here, but we're trying to be constructive. But taking off your centre-half, who's been, like I say, dominant throughout the game, and replacing him with a good centre-half in Lenny Yoro, but it's kind of hard for centre-half to come into the game, isn't it, late on? And you take Maguire off and you're right, Chelsea equalise with a cross to the far post, Trevor Chalobah heads it in. Harry Maguire on the pitch, that's probably not going to go in, is it? So I don't understand Amorim's tactics at times, his approach to games, and it's kind of a reckless approach at times, because if you're taking your centre-half off, you're making these kind of preordained changes every week. Your centre-half's coming off. It gives the opposition hope, doesn't it? That, oh, well, just give it 70 minutes, you'll take your centre-half off, or you'll take that player off. And that is the issue with Amorim, that his tactical approach is just very questionable for me, and the results bear that out. As Craig said, over the course of his time at United, 10 months, I mean, prior to yesterday, no other manager or coach had a worse record. That says it all.
Craig, you mentioned delaying the inevitable. John said that the squad is made for 4 at the back and a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, however you want to do that formation. But the fact of the matter is they employed Ruben Amorim because he was successful. And the reason he was successful at Sporting was because of this 3-4-2-1 formation. So do you either stick with that, and asking him to change is asking him to do something that he hasn't been successful or hasn't done before?
Well, what is as the ownership, and this does come back to the ownership, as you quite rightly say, they put him in there knowing that he was a manager who arrived with a philosophy that he is quite clearly going to stick to. What's the bigger call? Is the ownership? Is it to give this guy time, and he's only had 10 months, or is it to realise that it isn't working and to make change now? Because there's an argument to say he walked into a difficult situation. Now, if I was a manager, I would want to inherit a team in a squad in a situation from Erik ten Hag, because there are so many easy wins to be had. And Amorim, this is quite an achievement. Amorim on the back of ten Hag has statistically made Manchester United worse. Over the course of the 10 months, there's a feeling they might give it until November to give it the full 12 before they do make change. But I really do think change is down the track, and it will be the right call.
Do you agree with that? Do you see Amorim as the long-term answer, and do you think he will be given that time?
I don't think he's the answer, but I think he'll be given more time than he probably merits. I think because United they're desperate for him to work out, because one, they've made so many mistakes over the past, and two, it's the new hierarchy that appointed Ruben Amorim. So there's a lot of kind of reputational at stake here. Omar Barada brought him in. Jason Wilcox has backed him with his transfers in the summer. So United need it to work. But Craig's right. There are two ways to go. You can either back the guy and it's going to fail anyway, or you can just make a change now. I don't think United are in that position yet. I think even if they lost at Brentford at the weekend, or had they lost yesterday, I don't think they're quite there yet. I don't think they're anywhere near there, to be fair. I think they want it to work. I think they feel that they're seeing signs of progress. They'll tell you about all these stats that United are top of this, the top of that, but ultimately they're not winning games until yesterday. So what happens next? We've seen it all before, haven't we? We could argue that David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag were all kept beyond when it was obvious that they weren't going to work. At the moment with Amorim, I think people like us are saying that it's not going to work, but within the club, they're looking at the positives, thinking it might work. But we've seen it all before with different managers, different clubs. When it's not working, if it's not worked after 10 months, is it going to work?
They seem to be as if they're trying to convince themselves, though, because you look in and you read the pieces written by you guys on the ground in Manchester, and you can tell when a piece has been briefed to a degree, and there's noise around it, and there's, well, have you seen this number? Have you seen that trend? I think they're trying to convince themselves on the inside that it's going to work. But believe your eyes. I don't think it is.
I think also you've got to look at it and say, who's better out there? If you're going to make a change...
That's the thing, isn't it?
Who is better out there? And I just don't think... Sometimes when it's just so obvious and down the tracks. I mean, for example, when Jose came in, it just felt it was inevitable that Jose would be the next manager for Manchester United. Do we feel that pathway is there for United at the moment? I mean, United is a global force. It's the self-styled, in their own eyes, the biggest club in the world. They've not got European football this season. This is a chance, obviously, for Amorim then to impose his ideas and his methods on the training ground, day in, day out. And I do feel as if you've got to give him time. And I think changing it at this stage, we also, by the way, we are talking on the back of a win at Old Trafford. So to be fair to him, he must think, blimey, I can't win, with some of the criticism. But I do think we've been here so many times with United that you've got to have the right person to replace him. You've got to have an upgrade. I would love to know the ins and outs, and a few people have really have written illuminating pieces. But Amorim was, let's be clear here, he was lined up for Liverpool at one stage. And then basically, why didn't that quite work out? Was that a sort of a coaching issue? Was that Liverpool could suddenly see that maybe if he's so wedded to back three, which has been suggested in several well-informed pieces, then he's not for us. And listen, the way it's then worked out for Liverpool and going on a slot, and basically Liverpool's recruitment, and, you know, when I say recruitment, I mean hiring people in the top positions as well as signings, has been absolutely second to none in recent times. And their move for Arne Slot, the way that they have signed players, has elevated them and to a different level. They've done it relatively quickly, they've done it incredibly intelligently, and they are now the shining example across the Premier League, across to every other club, and dare I say it, across to Manchester United. That's the way it should be done.
Just on Amorim, I think what's worth mentioning as well, you look at the whole squad, how many of those players has he made better? I mean, I'll say Amad Diallo, because Ten Hag didn't want to know with Diallo, and Amorim's got more out of Amad. But beyond that, I can't point to any players that have actually improved under Amorim. I was saying before we came into Craig about Eddie Howe, that the testament to Eddie Howe is that when he went to Newcastle, they were in a far worse position than Man United were when Amorim took over. And he transformed the club with players like Joe Linton, with Miguel Almiron, that everyone had written off.
Yeah.
And he's got them play. I mean, Joe Linton's been an amazing player for Newcastle under Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe made so many of those players better, and that's all you can ask for a manager or a coach, just make the players better individually. Yeah. And Amorim hasn't done that. He's actually made some players worse. But Cross is right, they won yesterday. It's positive times at Man United. We're all right.
Mark's right. The ultimate test of a coach is how you coach, especially in the modern game, where a lot of the other responsibilities are taken away from you. And to touch on the Eddie Howe example, there is not a player he has not made better within Newcastle United, taking 4 or 5 non-cap players, Dan Burn, Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton, turning them in to full internationals. And you look at what Amorim has done by contrast, and players do. And is this an Amorim thing, or is this a Manchester United thing? And I just want to talk quickly about Benjamin Sesko, a player who is coming in who looks like the last place he needs to be right now is Manchester United. He's going to need time to. He's a young man come from the Bundesliga, and there's some suggestion on the back of last night. You know, has he arrived now? What a 6'5" striker with one flick on. Are we seeing? You know, this is a corner turn.
To be fair,
it was a good flick on, but it was one he should have won. And Brian Mbeumo did the good work after that. But I looked at his stats this morning. Sesko, he had 8 touches, 3 completed passes, and 1 touch in the penalty area. He looks like a player right now who wants the ground to swallow him up. And when you're playing like that, Manchester United is not the place to be. Yeah. Look at Grimsby. Yeah. He took the 10th penalty out of 10 at Grimsby. That, for me, was so informative as to where he's at.
Similar area that we attacked with, first with Ryan, second time with Hugo, with the pace these two have. And like I said, first half it was a joy to watch. Although we got a little bit of a warning just before halftime when maybe the first shot on target, I'm not sure, but and second half you could see that's always the difficult thing of conceding the 2-1. If you're already 2-0 up, then you're a bit in doubt maybe. Normally we're not in doubt. Normally we always just keep on attacking. But yeah, I've said enough about our schedule now and that reason. But again, I think we had better chances to score the third than they had to score the second.
Looking smart in his blazer.
As you do.
Yes, thank you. Look, I've got to talk about Ryan Gravenberch because is he a bit underrated, do you feel? Is he kind of like the best pivoting midfielder in the Premier League right now?
I mean, definitely there's a conversation for it right now, especially in the Premier League. That he's been so good in that position since Slot took over and gave him that new role where he's kind of that quarterback midfielder, that defensive midfielder, but he's getting forward as well. Today, that goal he scored is unbelievably hard. The ball from Salah was a great pass. The ball is actually going away from him and then he's hit it as it's bounced up into the far corner. That is such a hard technique and he made it look so easy. And then even the pass for the Ekitike's goal, the assist, it was a great pass, well weighted. And then obviously Ekitike, touch, bang, he's in form as well. And like you said there, Wirtz is on the bench, Isak is on the bench. And to be honest, I look at Wirtz and I'm thinking to myself, He hasn't played well this season to begin with. Yes, he's bedding himself in. He's getting used to the Premier League, but
has Ekitike outshone him, do you think?
Oh, definitely. He's played much better than him. But also, that was Liverpool's best performance today, without Wirtz in the team. And you know, Szoboszlai has gone on into midfield.
Szoboszlai
Conor Bradley at right back.
Class at the moment.
honestly, that Liverpool side has got depth. It's going to take some beating them this season, I'll tell you.
OK. Let's get a reaction to this, because we've partnered, Sky Sports are partnered with Fanalysis, an app where passionate fans known as Fanalists share their views on their club. We're joined now by Liverpool fan Peter Bolster. Good to see you, Peter. Thanks for joining us tonight. What did you make of the game this evening? Or this morning?
Well, the first 30 minutes, I thought Liverpool, it was absolutely sensational. To go two goals up, and it looked like we could get 3 or 4 before half time. We were literally thinking, is this the day where we're going to beat them 4 or 5 again? But then from that point onwards, we sort of then conceded territory, which seems to be a little bit of a thing in the Liverpool midfield at the moment. And we invited pressure on, and in the end, a little bit disappointing. But remember that we still won the game, and we're quite clear at the top of the league. So I'm more than happy with how Liverpool are doing.
Jay just talked about the fact that they have got strength in depth. Have they got as much as some, though? You know, because there was a little bit of fatigue there, wasn't it? It was starting to show, and Everton almost took advantage of that. Is that something that concerns you?
In the short term, if you rewind and you think about the start of the season, it's always a tricky period getting your players fit, because the pre-seasons are even shorter at this time. And when you brought in a bunch of new lads to come into a new team and a new system and get them going, yeah, of course, you've got 3 games in the last 6 days. It hasn't even been a week; it's 6 days. But this is the patch that I think is the most trickiest, and we're coming through it with victories. So I think it's more of a concern for the rest of the Premier League, what Liverpool are doing right now.
Pete, obviously, I think today was Liverpool's best performance as a team. And we spoke about it before. We put all these new players coming into the starting lineup, you know, Carragher, Frimpong, like all the new players. But today, without Wirtz in the side, it seemed like Liverpool played better football, more fluid football, more flowing football. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree, but that's also because they need time to gel, isn't it? And like you just said, then it's not just Florian Wirtz coming into the side, so we can pick on him. But if you think about it, there was Conor Bradley, who wasn't Liverpool's right back last season, regardless of him being at the club. It was Trent Alexander-Arnold. Kirk's the new left back. Ekitike's new. Gakpo looks to be more
well
deeper.
Today, I thought.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent.
He was, because there was a bit of criticism, wasn't there, in the last game? But he played well today. I thought he was strong, solid, got forward well as well.
Yeah, I think he's calmed down a little bit. I think he was trying too hard, getting too tight to his opponent at times. Jamie Carragher was quite vocal on that. It was quite obvious. I did worry, to be honest with you, because I thought he might have went with Robbo. But Kirk's in the derby, he actually kept his head. So no, he was fantastic.
What do you make of Alexander Isak yet? I know we haven't seen masses of him, but what do you think of his start?
The glimpses that I've seen against Atletico, he was really good. He had a good little cameo. He was just missing that goal. Today, he was off it. He come on and he didn't hold the ball up. He didn't really get a lot of service, if I'm honest. But when he did, he didn't really do much about it. I think he's just feeling it from Wednesday.
Pete, one thing about that is that when you come on in a derby like that and it's 100 miles an hour, it's always really difficult to get into a game.
Yeah, but it's Alexander Isak.
Yeah, I know, but
he's paid 125 million. They're going to
right.
expect him to hit the ground running.
But I mean, yes, you're right. But ultimately, it's the beginning of a season. He hasn't had a pre-season. He hasn't played games. I mean, even players that have had a full pre-season that's played all the games, it still takes them about 3 or 4 games to get really up to pace. So I'm not really going to focus on the way he's playing now when he comes off the bench. My question to you, though, Pete, is where does he fit in, though? Because Ekitike is playing so well, and Slot said the other day that he sees both of them as a number 9. You can't play 2 number 9s unless you're going to change your formation.
You'd pick Ekitike over him right now, which is exactly what Arne Slot did today.
Yeah, he did today, and credit to him, because he really did perform, didn't he? And what a fantastic finish as well. It was very Fernando Torres like that. I've spoken about this a few times now. To me, I just want to see Liverpool win. So first and foremost, I want to see Liverpool win, and they can just fight it out.
You don't care who plays, just throw him in there.
As long as they win, I think the best player is always the player who's on the bench at times, because you, as a football fan, after 60 minutes, you're like, well, we need something different here. Can you get him on? But no, I think Isak will be the number 1, number 9, if I'm really honest.
Pete, I need you to be objective on this one as well. Sorry to interrupt you, because this Wirtz situation, do you see him like really getting to grips with the Premier League? Because when I watch him play, there's no doubt about it. He's like unbelievable player, and we've seen it in Germany. We've seen it for Germany. But in the Premier League, I know it's early doors, but he does look like he's treading water. He does look like he's a bit lightweight. What do you think?
No, I think he's even come out in an interview a couple of weeks ago and he said that he's adapting to the physicality. But against Atletico, and I know it was the Champions League and it wasn't the Premier League, he was sensational against Atletico. It was his best
I watched a different
performance.
game to you, Peter. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I watched it.
That's all right. I'm watching them very closely. We'll get me back on here in a few months and we'll see how good Florian is.
That sounds like a good idea.
I do think, just to add on that subject though, is that I do think a lot of fans and a lot of pundits are seeing a different view. It's because I think what you see is you see a number 10 coming into this Liverpool side. He's playing everywhere. He's playing all over that midfield and running ragged and playing defensively at times as well and really grafting. So I think it's a misconception.
Yeah, but I don't like all that stuff about graft. We had that with Darwin Núñez. Oh yeah, he works really hard though. Every footballer should work hard.
100%. But what I'm saying is
So that's a
his role
given.
in the team. I don't think he's standing there in the number 10 position and playing like a Dennis Bergkamp. He's running like Gini Wijnaldum.
If you play like a Dennis
and
Bergkamp,
playing-
I'm telling you, you'll have something on your hands then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, I agree with Darwin Núñez as well. Don't get me started with him.
All right then, Pete.
Peter, thank you so much for joining
Peter.
us. We'll see you
Thank
again.
you.
And we'll talk about Verts again. OK, let's stick with the Merseyside derby. As we mentioned, Liverpool's substitutions in Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz cost a combined £240 million. And David Moyes has been talking about the fact that he just can't bring that off the bench.
I've said many times, and I've said it again, and I'm repeating myself. You know, we don't have the 70s or 80s or even more it takes to buy certain players. We've had to buy within our means, and we'll hugely support the ones we've got because they'll score us goals, and I'm sure they'll get quite a few by the end of the season. So I thought Barry came on and had moments as well, linked to play a couple of times, so he had bits of that, but he's still learning as well, and certainly it's a big place to learn coming to Anfield.
Yeah, so quite a positive second half from Everton, but obviously the gap is there to see, isn't it, unfortunately. Ollie Hayes, an Everton fan, joins us now live. Ollie, good evening to you. I think he's coming, hopefully. Here he is. Look, is that what was the difference, do you think, Ollie, today, the strength in depth between the two teams?
Yeah, I mean, look, Moyes is right in his press conference. I think with the amount of money that Liverpool has spent this summer, it's always going to be difficult to compete, especially from the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. And I think that was what cost us, really. So I think strength and depth is something that Everton have really struggled with in recent seasons. And then if you're looking at, as you said at the start of this show, the amount of money that they've got to bring off the bench, I think it was about 250 million in terms of substitutions coming off the bench. So yeah, it is tough to compete with that. But again, that's in the modern world of FFP where we're playing. That seems to be the common theme amongst a lot of teams in the Premier League these days.
Ollie, one thing I would say about today's game, though, I thought Everton started really slow and gave Liverpool a bit too much respect early on, and it was only until Liverpool scored, and in the second half, Everton started really pushing and fighting and trying. The first 30 minutes, though, was a bit subdued. When I watch Everton play, I always think if they had a really good striker, they'd win more games and they'd score more goals. And again, that was the story of it today. Like Beto, yeah, he's a good forward. He puts himself around, but there was a few chances he had, half chances, where other forwards might have scored those. And I feel like that's where Everton struggles sometimes.
Better, yeah.
But listen, you're spot on. I think a lot of people have said in recent weeks that the front three behind Beto is worthy of a top six place. I think I absolutely agree with that. Jack Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, Iliman Ndiaye, they're three fantastic players and can really create your chances. So if you're giving chances to the likes of Beto and he's not finishing them off, it's almost doing a disservice to those three that are playing in behind. So I do massively agree with it. Listen, we were waxing lyrical when we played Wolves a few weeks ago, me and you, Jay, talking about Beto. Yeah. And I think I do agree with you. He does put himself about, and he can really be effective against certain teams. But today, I think he bottled it at times a little bit. And it was kind of a key teller when David Moyes took him off at half-time for a 22-year-old Tierno Barry. I think that's when you're not having a good game, is when you come off at half-time in a big game like this.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, Ollie, like I look at the recruitment. Let's talk about the recruitment, because you look at Beto and you look at Barry, and there's a lot of similarities there. They're not like very different. It's not like you've got a quick nippy forward and then you've got one that puts himself around like Beto. They're very much the same profile. And like Vicky said there, like Liverpool are going to go and spend like 2, 3, whatever hundreds of millions they can spend. I feel like Everton need to get their recruitment right more than anything and start moving like Brighton do. Go into the youth system. Everton's always had good youth players.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you to some extent. I think one thing that has happened in recent seasons, because we've been so hamstrung by FFP, is we've looked to cash in on our youth talent quite early. Yeah. I think one example that springs to mind is Ishe Samuel-Smith. We sold him for around £3-4 million to Chelsea, I think 2-3 seasons ago, and he's started really well in a Swansea shirt, obviously having a very good performance against Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup midweek. So I think, yeah, on the one hand, I do agree with you. We do have a good youth setup, but it's taken a hit in recent seasons. So it's going to take, obviously, a while to get that back up to speed. In terms of recruitment, I do agree with you. I think our recruitment's been really poor in recent seasons, but I think this year, moving to this committee model, I think it's the first time we've really seen decent recruitment with Everton. Look, Dewsbury Hall, I think, is a great signing. Grealish is a great signing. Tierno, Barry, Merlin Roll, I think they're your development signings that you've brought in. Obviously, Merlin Roll wasn't in the squad today. I think he picked up a minor knock in training yesterday, which was confirmed by David Moyes. But I do agree with you. You live and die by your recruitment, and it has to be better. But I think this summer and the business that we did do, I think is a step in the right direction.
All right, Ollie, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Ollie.
A big sigh of relief, I'm sure. How good does that victory feel?
Really good. Now it's time to create a little bit momentum. So I think we start the game really well, really aggressive. And again, I think I cannot remember a very good play from us, but we pushed the opponent for how aggressive we were in the second balls, the first ball. So it was a good thing. Of course, we cannot have the sent off at near half time with Casemiro, so we like to complicate always our games. But in the end, it was a good day.
I suppose it's one thing having a red card so early on in a game like that. It's another taking the opportunity that you've been given. You asked your players to be more aggressive, more clinical today. You feel you saw that, you got what you wanted? I
felt the urgency, especially in the beginning of the game. Of course, the sent-off helped us. But again, if you remember the first half, we have so many opportunities, three against one, 3 against 2. We have to be more clinical to finish the game sooner. And again, so with the sent-off of Casa, you never know what is going to happen. So we have to take every chance to kill the game.
Bruno Fernandes with his 100th Manchester United goal. Just how valuable is he to what you want to do with this team?
Yeah, he has a great spirit. He's our captain, and he scored a goal playing as a midfielder. So I'm really happy with that.
Well, are you hoping that does silence some of your critics? Is that a case in point?
No, it is nothing about that. People don't have too much good things to say about our team, about our results, and I understand that. So I'm just joking around all the time. So I have nothing to say to the critics. They are right most of the times. But today we won, and it's a good day for us.
That second half, I suppose the Casemiro sending off, it made things a bit more difficult than perhaps it needed to be. But the character that your side showed to muscle their way through that second half in front of the home fans.
Just not you. Was talking about. I wanted to talk about that also because our fans help us a lot in every moment of the second half. I think they push us a little bit back. Of course, we are in the moment that we want to win so bad that we go back a little bit, but we fight in every moment. If you look at the game, we deserve the win, and it's just one win, and we need to think about the next one.
Our studio panel said that perhaps this is your biggest home victory in your time as Manchester United manager. Would you agree? Does it feel like that?
No, I think it's really important because I understand the environment around the team and the coach. So this game was really important for that. But again, it's Manchester United winning a game at home. So it's just that 3 points, and we go against trying to create the momentum. We cannot forget that we suffer a lot when we are not in the top. in our maximum in all aspects of the game. So we can lose against Grimsby, we can win against any team. So that is the thinking that we need to take for the next week.
Do you feel as if this does give you a bit of breathing space to now build with this team?
I'm just thinking about the next one. So of course it's really good to win, and you can feel in the environment in the dressing room. But again, forget that feeling. I prefer the other feeling now, because it will bring us the urgency to win again, and that is really important for us.
Let's look at Liverpool. I mean, 4 wins from 4, 100% record in the Premier League so far. They get an opening win against Atletico Madrid, but you're not convinced by them so far. Why?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I could take 6 points off them and you wouldn't even flinch, really. Last kick of the game against Newcastle, I thought Newcastle were a better team. From 2-0 down, they looked like one team was going to win that game. Arsenal game, I thought Arsenal were very, very comfortable, bar an absolute worldie. It's another 2 points. And Burnley the other day, for all the shots they had, never really looked like scoring, and then a penalty, virtually last kick of the game. They're just getting over the line.
Yeah.
Champions get over the line, don't get me wrong. But they can't keep on doing that. They need to start playing well sooner or later. Today, I don't think they can play like they have been and win this football match. I don't see that today. They will have to pick their game up.
And we'll get Sue's thoughts on that in just a moment. But Clinton, you look at the points they've gained from the late goals so far this season, and they are doing it late, but then you look at Man United back in their pomp. We used to talk about Fergie time. They often used to leave it late in certain games. But 10 points gained in all competitions. They'd be down in 12th without those late goals so far. Now, you could look at it 2 ways. Either they're a vulnerable side, or this is the strong winning mentality of champions. Which side are you on?
Strong mentality, winning mentality of champions, without a shadow of a doubt.
So what's the champion about the geezer catching the ball at Burnley the other day?
Doesn't matter, that's a mistake.
Well, no, what's that got to do with Liverpool?
But that's got nothing to do with Liverpool.
Of course that's what I'm saying.
But
so
he crosses
why
it.
Liverpool?
It crosses it, Hannibal handballs it, Salah steps up, it's still a pressure penalty, big players step up in big moments. Liverpool, they can't help it that Hannibal's handballed the ball. What I'm saying to you is, at the end of the day, they are winning football matches. People can say they're not playing to their potential. So I feel sorry for every team when they start playing to their potential, then if they're getting results now. Because if you look at the run of games that they played at the moment, they've been difficult games, really difficult games. I think they're playing ever so well at the moment. You can say that in midweek, when you can say they were 2-0 up, Atletico Madrid come back, it's 2-2, and they big players step up in big moments. Van Dijk with a fantastic header.
You can't keep on relying on that.
You're saying you can't keep relying on it, but at the moment they're doing it. It can't be luck. It can be luck the first time, but it can't be luck how many times we've seen it so far this season, can we?
But Merce, isn't the worry, and I'll come to you in a minute, Sue, so I know you're championing the bit, you're going to be watching this game. Isn't the worry for the rest that I think most would agree that this side is yet to fully click? Bertz is on the bench this afternoon. Szoboszlai moving back into the usual place he has in the team. That's the worry for the rest, isn't it? Because if they're 100%, albeit late goals, and they haven't truly clicked yet as a team, and Isak's still coming back to full fitness after no pre-season, that's the big concern for the rest, isn't it?
I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here in December and Slot still doesn't know his best team.
Because of the vast array of options.
Too much vast. Yeah. You know, if they go and win this game today, does that mean Isak don't play next week? Probably. You know, all of a sudden now you've got the 2 biggest signings in Wits and Isak are both sub in one of the biggest games that Liverpool play all season. This and Man United, it's their biggest games. For me, I think this is their strongest team, bar Isak, at the moment. But I would have played Wits out on the left. I would have played him out on the left, away from all the havoc, where he can come drifting in. Where we see Doku the other day, he's playing on the wing and he comes and he ends up getting the ball in the inside right position and setting up the goal for Foden, because he's impossible to pick up. At the moment, I think it's just a little bit tight in there for Wits. But again, now they're not playing. But no, I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. When they get going, that'll be it. I think if Arsenal get 4 points from their next 2 games, Arsenal will win the league.
7 points. Best start they've had in the last 4 seasons for Everton. But, I mean, being honest, it's been a fairly low bar in recent seasons for Everton. Yeah. And you're just a little bit nervous. You were saying in the meeting yesterday you're quite nervous ahead of this one. But I'd have thought going into this one, given the way Everton have started the season, given those vulnerabilities that Liverpool do have, are you not hopeful?
it's been a good start for Everton, and I think when you look back to last season, as you mentioned, I think 4 games in, they were bottom with no points. So of course it's much better than that. I think the difference this season is Everton are going to win games. I think they've got that creativity and quality. You know, the likes of Grealish, Dewsbury Hall and Jai have been brilliant. They are struggling to be clinical in front of goal. I think Beto just doesn't have that consistency. He'll score 1, but then he'll miss too many chances. And I think Barry, who they've brought in, is still a work in progress. So, yeah, there is more positivity, I think, going into the game. But, you know, I think when you just look at Liverpool, it's fair to say that they've not been at their best. But the fact that they've still got that 100% record, the fact that they've had so many new players coming into the side, I just think it's going to take time for them to gel. So once they do gel, because you can see patterns, you can see glimpses of the quality that they've got, and you just think once that clicks and clicks continuously, consistently, they're certainly the team to stop.
But you're thinking also, surely at some point for David Moyes, that record he has at Anfield, which isn't exactly one you'd be too envious of. It's been a luckless hunting ground for him as a manager, both for Everton and West Ham. It's got to change at some point, but you're not fancying today as the day, even with the on-fire performance of Jack Grealish, who's going to cause that Liverpool side problems today.
Do you know, I'm a typical Evertonian. I'm obviously going to be very neutral today watching the game, but you're just always worried going to Anfield. And I don't think it's just David Moyes. There's so many managers that have struggled at Anfield, so many teams that have struggled at Anfield. And, of course, that's got to change at some point. And, yes, there is, like I say, there is that positivity going into it because of the creativity. But you just think, how are Everton going to set up today? Are they going to be defensively sound and well organised, or are they going to have a go? And that's going to be really interesting to see, because you think, yes, it'd be great if they do have a go, but then you look at the quality of that Liverpool team and you think they can certainly exploit any spaces that Everton leave.
Bordy, final word from you on this. Where do you stand? We heard from Merce, we heard from Clinton earlier. Is their run so far the mark of champions or a team flattering to deceive?
No, I think it's a mark of champions. You know, I think Clinton, in terms of when he's saying that you can be lucky once or twice maybe, but there's a reason why, you know, teams up the top end of the table, and especially teams that are winning championships, win games of football, because they keep going to 90, what was it, 99, 90, 100 minutes at St James's Park where they score the winner there. It can't always be luck. They'll just keep going and keep going and keep going. They'll keep knocking the door. Even during the week, you come back against Atletico Madrid, come back. Virgil van Dijk obviously gets a header. What was that, about 93 minutes or something as well? Burnley, it's late on. Even Arsenal, it's late on as well. We can't sit here and praise Sir Alex Ferguson for the amount of late goals that they got and then criticise Liverpool for the exact same.
I'm not saying they're lucky. I'm saying they're not playing well. They're not playing well. No one can tell me that they're playing well. I
think when you look at Liverpool right now, because they're going to concede goals.
But they're not playing well.
They're going to concede goals. I mean, that's just the way they're set up now. With the two full-backs as high as they are.
Not now. Not with that three in midfield, they won't. Not with that three. Not with Gravenberch. Not with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and McAllister.
Liverpool will concede goals.
Not with them three.
Oh, wow.
Not with them three. But take one of them out.
The full-backs are high on the wings.
I don't think they will not let in as many goals with them three in midfield as if they put Wits in there and take one.
I get that, because they're obviously more attacking.
Yeah,
but
that's
at
what
the
I mean.
same time, you know, you look at Liverpool. They've got an abundance of talent going forward. They're going to cause problems for teams. We've seen that in the past. They will just fancy themselves to outscore everyone. That's exactly what they're doing right now, and it hasn't. I wouldn't say they've been brilliant.
No, they haven't been good at all.
They've won 4 games. They're sitting top of the Premier League. They must be doing something right.
Of course, to Tim Sherwood as well. Right, Tim, Liverpool favourites for the Premier League. Yep. They are joint favourites for the Champions League. So are they the best team in Europe right now?
It'll be too early to say that, I think. I think they're capable of being the strongest team in the Champions League for sure. I think PSG, being holders, have gone course and distance and know exactly what to expect. They had a great win last night as well, PSG. So it looks ominous for everyone, you know. Konate back to fitness. Salah was at his best again last night. Wirtz was much improved. Isak gets minutes. He will get better. So, I mean, the late goals is just... It's no coincidence. You know, it's just a team who believe that they're going to win the game. No matter how many minutes are left on that pitch, they will give everything to try and get maximum points. And that's what they're doing. They're just like the great Manchester, Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United team of the past. Fergie time. They just keep going. you always feel like they're going to get a winner. And when you're in opposition against that, you always feel like you're going to concede, because you've seen them score the late goals. It's just very difficult to stop because the mindset of winners, and they haven't played fantastically well. They haven't played poorly, but I don't think they're firing on all cylinders by any means. So they can improve. They've still got a long way, and they're just relentless at the moment. They look like a juggernaut, which is unstoppable.
Well, yeah, 5 wins in a row, but they've all been late winners. So if you're an opposition team, are you encouraged that you're still in the game until the very end? Or are you kind of thinking, oh no, they always find a way to win?
I think that gets into your psyche in the end. You start believing that they're coming forward. They've got so much ammunition.
The fans will be saying, oh, well, they always score late on.
Yeah, of course. Even if yes, apprehension is there, and you know how many changes they make off the bench and the quality what they can bring on and the firepower they possess. They can score from all areas of the field. We saw last night the big man Van Dijk, the Rolls Royce. He steps up and he scores. It's a fantastic header. Make room for him at the far post. The delivery has to be correct, but they will score from every part of the pitch. They're capable of doing it. Sloboslai, who expected that? Against Arsenal, 35 yards out, free kick, unstoppable. So who's going to be next? You just don't know. It can be any of them. They're incredible at the moment.
Yeah, they are. Everything rosy for Liverpool right now. Let's get the fans' perspective. Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, go to the Sky Sports app for more details, or you can scan that QR code. That's the easiest way to do it. Right, we can speak to Liverpool fan John Gibbons now. John, good morning to you. Very good morning for you, in fact, no doubt. Liverpool keep on winning, and it's certainly not boring, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. I think sometimes you like it to be a little bit more boring at the moment. A nice, gentle 2 or even 3-0 win, which it looked like we were maybe going to get last night when we raced into a 2-0 lead, but it wasn't to be in the end. But it's another fantastic moment this season, and they're collecting now these fantastic moments and these big winners, and they're coming from different areas of the pitch, but they're always latent and they always feel wonderful as a fan in the stands when you get those moments of pure joy.
Do you expect to see Liverpool killing off games once this team gels? Because there are a lot of new signings, there are a lot of changes. These late goals are great, but do you think they'll be killing teams off sooner rather than later?
Yeah, you'd hope so. There's new players who are bedding in at the moment, and they're still finding their way, both in terms of some occasions like Verts moving to the Premier League, so a new division, but others just getting to know the teammates a little bit and them getting to know them. So we're not quite fluid in terms of our attack, but you can see the talent that there is in the squad, and like Tim said, the quality that we can bring off the bench as well. It is fantastic to be able to win games if you need, or just freshen it up. And so we have got a lot to be excited about. It will get better, I think, as the players get more used to each other. But in the meantime, we're winning games and picking up points, and the manager will be delighted with that.
John, the only worry your manager's got at the moment is how to fit all these world-class stars into his team. I mean, what a problem that must be.
Yeah, I mean, you're a manager, Tim, and you'll know all about that. Egos and managing people and things as supporters. We can't get enough. It's like collecting stickers. We just want more and more great players. Whereas for you managers, you've got to worry about it. It was interesting last night that obviously Ekitike drops to the bench. I think that's more because Isak obviously doesn't have 90 minutes in, so he wants to bring him on for him to make sure he's always got a number 9 on the pitch. When they are both fully fit, it will be interesting to see how he does get them both into the same team. I think they can play together. I think Ekitike certainly would enjoy that, and with Salah going off to AFCON, that's obviously a real opportunity for both of them to play together a little bit more. But for now, he's just having to keep everyone happy. But I think when it's a winning team, it is a little bit easier. I don't think there's too many players you can tell the manager he's getting it wrong at the moment. Certainly not when he's won a championship in his first year as well.
It was quite interesting before the game when Arne Slot said he feels like he's got 2 number 9s. Isak's definitely going to play up front. He said Ekitike can play left, maybe even off the number 9, but in generally feels like he's got 2 number 9s. But do you think Ekitike might feel a little bit put out at this time, because he probably didn't know that they were signing Isak when Ekitike signed?
I think he would have been aware of the noise around it and aware it was a possibility. And I don't think his agent would have been doing his job if he hadn't made inquiries about, OK, what else do you want to do? But the best players all say that they want to play with the best out there. And that Ekitike situation, he's come to Liverpool, he's come to a huge club. And I think he probably knows that there's going to be competition for places and top-class players throughout, not just up front. So he'll be backing himself. They all do. He looks a confident boy. It's a real shame he missed that one in the end because he could have come on and got a goal and that would have been nice for him. I think he will come back into the team against Everton, and I think Arne Slott's the kind of manager, if you're playing well and you're doing a good job for him and for the team, then you'll keep your place. And so that's the challenge, not just for the forwards but for all of them, really, to make sure you're delivering. The standard's going to be really high this season. You've got to be playing really well to stay in this team, I think. But for supporters, that's brilliant because it means we're going to get some great performances, 100% from all the players, and yeah, it's going to be exciting for us for sure.
John, at the moment, I think Arne Slot, he's not made a mistake. I mean, he gets all the big calls right. First and foremost, as a manager, you need to pick a team at the beginning of the game to try and win it. If it's not working out, you make changes. He makes the changes at the right time. I look at the weekend, Kirkes, when he dives, he gets the book in, straight away, doesn't hesitate, off you come. You've got a manager who knows exactly what he wants and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, 100%, and that's been what's so impressive from him from the off. Really, is that he's been himself. He's been confident. I don't think he comes across as an arrogant man. He's just got a quiet confidence in what he's doing, and he backs himself. And obviously we're all aware he comes in replacing Jurgen Klopp, which is huge shoes to fill. But he's just been himself, and he's very cold, if you like. He's quite calm, but he's very measured, and that substitution that you talked about there, Tim, the Kirkes one, I think some managers would have shied away from it and would have thought, well, I'll try and get to half time and then I can have a quiet word with him and smooth it over. But I think he was aware of that situation, that Kirkes might not have got to half time, the way the crowd was and everything was up and the emotion of the situation. So he did it there and then and backed himself to sort it out later. And I think that's really strong management.
Helps when you got Robinson on the bench, who's won the Premier League.
It's not a bad sub.
Yeah, that's that squad depth we've been talking about. We love the viewers getting involved, John, and we've got a voice note here on Liverpool from someone called John Boy.
I am a Liverpool fan. I do think we have got a good up front and midfield. I think our letdown for the season is going to be our defence, our goalkeeper. My opinion might be wrong, but we're still the best team in the world.
John, the goalkeeper one's surprised. I can see it's surprised.
I thought Tim's head was going to fall off.
It surprised all of us, especially Tim, by his reaction. Defence, I know that. I mean, you're trying to sign Gahey, so I can understand that one. But goalkeeper, you're surprised by that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of opinions, isn't it? But I'm not sure there's many in Anfield who would be agreeing with that one. I think Alisson's been world-class since he joined and is still playing at a really high level. And, of course, they brought Mamardashvili in the summer as well, who I haven't seen a huge amount of yet, but he's got a big reputation. So I think that area is fine. Centre-half, like you said, they did trying to bring Gahey in. I think that was maybe one more for the future, looking at Konate maybe moving on. There's a year left on his contract, a lot of noise about what's going on with there. I think as a two, Konate and Virgil are more than capable and have proved that over the time. It's if one of them gets injured and Konate can pick up the odd injury, then what sort of happens there, really. As fans, we love Joe Gomez. We think he's brilliant. But again, injuries have been a real problem for him. And then there's a young Italian lad that come in who we haven't seen anything of at all. And so there is a few question marks there. But you're never going to have a perfect squad, and everyone's going to have areas where they feel stronger and weaker than others. But, I still think Liverpool, front to back and looking at that depth, are the strongest team in the league so far.
Yeah, Giovanni Leone from Parma, the youngster, £26 million. Are you going to win the quadruple, John?
Wow, what a question. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, it's never been done before, has it? So there's a reason for that. Normally someone will catch you out. I'd take a Champions League in Budapest in May if you could offer me right now. I'm not going to be too greedy.
Right, well, talking of greedy, I know how much you'll want to win on Saturday. Merseyside derby, of course, and Everton They are looking better than they've done for a while. I think that's fair to say. David Moyes has got them playing well. Ndiaye's playing well. Jack Grealish has made a great start at Everton. And we've just been talking about how Liverpool are potentially susceptible at the back. Are you at all worried about Everton, despite the fact... Are you at home? I believe you're at home.
We are at home, yeah, which helps. Listen, you're always nervous about derby games because they're the best games to win as a supporter and the worst games to lose. And so I could come on here, you know, on Sky and be full of bravado and saying no problem. But I know on Saturday morning I'll wake up with, I think it's called derby belly is the medical term, and that's how I'll feel. And you know, because... You know, my neighbours are blue, a lot of my friends are blue. I don't work with any because I work at the Anfield Vat, but, like, you know, there's a lot of blues, you know, in our building. And, you know, it's like for any derby, isn't it? When you win, you've got that big beaming smile walking around. And when you lose, you try to avoid everyone. And so there's too much at stake not to be nervous. And like you say, they are playing well. I think, listen, as a football fan generally, it's great to see Jack Grealish playing with a smile on his face again and enjoying his football. He's a magnificent player to watch, and you know, I know the Evertonians that I know are just absolutely loving the fact that he's there and watching them. So they've got a bit of a spring in the step at the moment, but they've come to Anfield with a spring in the step before and left with nothing. So fingers crossed that's the case again on Saturday.
Yeah, John, I've already booked off the day before and the day after the Tyne and Weir derby, so I know exactly how you feel. I hope I'm not in hiding. I hope I'm celebrating rather than in hiding, but I've got a feeling it might be the latter. OK, John, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Now, if you want to send us a voice note or leave a WhatsApp message, scan that QR code. It'll take you straight there. Alternatively, you can use our WhatsApp number 07514 917 075, X, Instagram, Facebook. Use the hashtag SkySportsFC. We've got another voice note that's coming, actually. It's a Liverpool fan called Paul. Let's see what he's had to say.
Wow, this is Paul Tremarco from West Derby in Liverpool. My God, I don't know what that guy was saying about our goalkeeper. We've got the best goalkeeper in the world. He is absolutely unbelievable. And 99.9% of all Liverpool fans think the same way. So I don't know what planet that lad's on, but he's certainly not a Liverpool fan. Thank you.
The Manchester United manager, and he's had plenty in his short period in time. Is there a danger that everybody, we know that headlines are going to be tomorrow, are going to overreact to this?
No, we're just giving our opinions of what we've seen. He said there he's not too angry, he's happy with the effort. But they've lost 3-0 in a derby game. He should be fuming. He should be raging. And he's an emotional guy, but when he's talking about the effort of the players, but I think their decision making, he's talking about moments, but football games are decided by moments. But there always seems to be moments of the opposition and United at this moment in time, and I'm including teams like Grimsby, by the way. So he should be raging. And I like managerial emotion, but I like my manager to show his anger as well. I just couldn't imagine being in a dressing room after losing a derby game 3-0 and everyone going, yeah, do we all try? Yeah. You've got to bring quality. Your decision making. He's on about people not being aggressive, not out of possession when the goals go in. That's when you have to be aggressive. It's called smelling danger when you're a footballer. And we can criticise the system, but is he going to bring Luke Shaw out in the training pitch and tell him how to get down low and defend properly? That's not his job either, to be fair. But obviously the pressure will be building. They've got Chelsea next week. It's not going to get any easier for this team. And he said he's building something, but while you're building something or you're on a project, you've got to win the odd football match, and they're not winning enough games. So the pressure will just build and build over the next few months.
Is it becoming harder for yourself, for Manchester United fans, to be optimistic about the direction of travel under Ruben Amorim?
Look, I think maybe it's because Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho are sort of like huge, massive personalities in the world of football, and when they came into an interview after the game, they were very spiky at times, so it almost brought anger out maybe in this studio. I don't think there's any anger in this studio at this moment in time, and I don't think there's no ill will towards any manager, but certainly towards Ruben Amorim. I think we all want him to do really well. But there are patterns emerging, and there'll be no Manchester United fan that exists that isn't worried at this moment in time about what's going to happen in this next month. And the one thing I would say about the system, and I'm not going to get bogged down on 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4 at the back, But when he talks about the two in midfield, and Patrick, I thought, asked him two really good questions there about the two in midfield. I think it's about who the two players are, number one, which obviously United haven't got the right two in there, whether that's Casemiro, Gatti, Mainu or Fernandes.
He doesn't have any players that fit this system.
No, he hasn't got the right four in there, so that's a big problem for him. So then you would ordinarily say a manager has to adapt until he gets the right players into the club. He's not been able to do it in this first wave of transfers.
Whose decision would that have been, Gary? Because
No,
they
but
spent all the money at the top of the pitch, didn't they?
No, but I think they need to fix the top of the pitch. I don't disagree with that, but they spent 200 odd million. We were all surprised United had that much money. But just coming back to the two in midfield, there is a pattern. It is a problem. So I know that he said it's not a problem in there because he's got three at the back and he's got the three in front. He said he mentioned Abermo, Sesko and Diallo. I know exactly what he means, but it is a problem. And it's happening in a lot of the games that Manchester United are playing. They start off really compact, where all players, the 10 players, are connected together. 5 at the back, the 2 in midfield are really close to that 5, and then the 3 in front are cuddling that 2. So they're really protected. But what happens is if the game becomes a little stretched, and it usually happens when Manchester United concede a goal. It happened against Burnley, it happened against Fulham, it happened against, not necessarily against Arsenal, but it happened against Burnley, Fulham, it happened against here today against Manchester City. When Manchester United go a goal down and those 3 start to be a bit more risk-taking, a bit more expressive, and they start to stretch a little bit, that 2 then look wide open. And you can't deny that. So yeah, I get what he means by the fact when they're all compact, but there is a problem that's emerging that if United have a difficulty in a game and those 2 end up left in there on their own, there are none of them that are good enough to defend that space, though. None of them have got the legs. You'd need Caicedo and Vieira. You'd need Keane and
that's where they get
Gerrard. You'd need
that's why they get found out against decent opposition. They can get away against Burnley or draw at Fulham, but against the really good teams, the midfield battle, if you're losing that battle against the good teams, ultimately you're going to lose football matches.
It's going to work.
Why did Pep bring Doku off the line today into a position I've never seen him bring him into? Because Manchester United play 2 in there.
It's too flat, it's too rigid, and it's hard to, when you watch this system, we've seen Amorim for what, over 6 months now in the Premier League. It's hard to fit. Gary's just alluded to Premier League footballers played centre midfield, right? It's hard to understand what profile of player plays that role, because I hear people speaking about, oh, they need legs. Okay, well, if you need legs, you've got Ugarte, but he's not very good on the ball. And then you've got Fernandes, who plays in that role because he's creative and he can see that forward pass, almost because he knows he wants to receive that type of forward pass himself. So he's sort of compromising. Casemiro often plays. Then you've got a player in Kobbie Mainoo who, in my opinion, is sort of a blend. He's good, he's better on the ball than Ugarte, and he can move around the pitch. And all I hear is, you know, we need dynamism in that midfield, but there isn't any dynamism in that midfield. And also, if they are going to play in front of a back 3 where you've got 3 centre-backs, you have, the 5 you use the word there, cuddle. You have to be protective of that area, and that is your shape when you're attacking. But they seem so open when they, you know, when they're beaten on transitions and things like that, and the centre-backs get drawn out too easily. And it's hard to actually find the profile of player that fits the system, not just in that midfield role, but in other areas of the pitch.
You've played in a 3 at the back. You've played in 4. You've played for whatever system. If you was out there tonight, it's very difficult for you to do your job in that system, because you're forever thinking about when you've got to jump into midfield. Say you played right of a 3, you played right back all your career, bombing up and down, but then you go right of a 3. But you're used to certain positions on the pitch and how to defend. I just think it's too confusing for the players. I think it's easier to go 4 at the back and push someone in midfield rather than go with the 5 at the back.
If you played, wouldn't you have to be one of the main creators in this team as well?
So when I did play 3 at the back under Terry Venables or under Glenn Hoddle, me or Stuart Pearce were the right or left centre-backs. But if a team played 1 up against us, we would go to a back 4.
Correct.
We would go to a back 4, so basically Stuart Pearce would tuck in alongside, say, Tony Adams, and I'd go then, and obviously they'd have 2 wide players, so you'd end up basically, I'd shuffle across to right back and be a bit more traditional. You would all, because you don't want 3 at the back against Erling Haaland. So what you see today is that Shaw and Yoro are having to push into midfield to pick up a player in a position that they're not really sure where they are, and then it leaves spaces behind them. So you are asking players to jump in then, because there's only 3v1 at the back, so it isn't ideal at times, but he plays it very differently, Ruben Amorim. It's not even, you never see Shaw going out to play left back and saying, OK, play Dorgu left wing for like 20 minutes and play Shaw left back and play, what's he called, Yoro and De Ligt in midfield and Mazraoui back to right back. That would have fit today against Bernardo Silva, Doku and Haaland, but they didn't do that. They don't do that. They do it a different way where one of the back players goes into midfield.
The record is ugly. I'm talking about Ruben Amorim's Premier League record since coming in, and of
But you
course,
put mine up then.
you played 3 at the back.
It's not far off.
Well, I think your win ratio was actually higher, wasn't it? This is 25% win ratio from 31 Premier League games, with a goal difference of -13. Gary sort of alluded to October being a time where we need to see progress. At what point does some serious consideration have to be taken about whether this is working, whether the system is too rigid, whether he needs to change or something else needs to change here?
I don't like talking about managers losing job, and I never will. I don't think it's fair. But obviously, what he's doing right now is not working. Since his first Premier League game, I think he's got less points than some of the worst teams in the Premier League. You know, and if you're going to be at Man United, it needs to be better than that. You know, we're stating the obvious here. We constantly talk about Man United and where they've been and all that sort of stuff, but he's in man in a job, and at this moment in time, he's not getting it right. And when you talk about managers, we have to adapt as pundits with all the new terminologies and all that sort of thing. He has to adapt as a manager, and right now he's not adapting, and I don't think the players are receiving the message in the way that they want to implement it on the field.
Will they get there, Roy? If you know, we give Ruben Amorim the season and say, OK, this is another free hit.
You know, it's more hope than belief at this moment in time, because again, we're watching him, we see him week in, week out, and yeah, not convinced. But I hope they can prove us wrong. We're on about the supporters and the media losing kind of belief in this management. My worry is if the players aren't truly behind him in terms of the way they're playing in this system, because the results just haven't been good enough. And yeah, big worry.
Manchester United's best player is Bruno Fernandes, and that is my biggest worry.
Still?
He's Manchester United's best player. He's been incredible for 5, 6, 7 years. His numbers are outstanding and would live in any Manchester United era. But in this system, he either has to play as one of the two in midfield, which means he's deep, or he has to play as either like a left-sided forward or a right-sided forward. So that isn't ideal. It reminds me a little bit of when Sebastian Veron came to Manchester United. We were very much a 4-4-2 team, and when Sebastian Veron was very much almost like a 4-3-3 midfield player, where he had like a sitting midfield player with one of the two in front, like the eights that they call it eights now. That's what Bruno Fernandes is. He's just like he wants someone deep lying behind him, and then one of those two in there that plays with a bit of freedom. And that's a bit of a worry that Bruno Fernandes has started to sort of go missing a little bit. If you think about the Europa League final, and you think about a game like today, he's not at his best, and he is United's best player, and you need to get the best out of him. You said before the game, Roy, if he doesn't play well, United struggle, and it's difficult for him to play well deep without the ball. It's difficult for him to play as a left winger or a right winger, or whatever you want to call those positions that Ruben Amorim plays.
Cunha's absence, is that something that we should be talking
City
about?
had Cherky, Mamouche, and they had others out today. Stones. I am definitely not going down that route and letting United off the hook because of Cunha. I mean, that's just not happening. City had lots of players out.
Reported yesterday that the club remain patient with Ruben Amorim and have no plans to change their manager, but the rumbles of discontent continue to get louder, with a United great expressing his concern about the club's struggles. United's all-time leading scorer Wayne Rooney says the team have got worse since Amorim's appointment in November last year, and he doesn't sound convinced that the manager is capable of turning things around. Here are some quotes from Wayne Rooney on the Wayne Rooney Show podcast. I want to be as supportive and positive as I can on the manager and the players, but it's very difficult to sit here and say we are seeing progression. And at least we're seeing things that will get results in the near future. I think after the last year when Ten Hag got sacked and Ruben came in, we're hearing how they're going to play and it's going to change. I think the manager is honest with himself. It's got worse. Right, good morning to Jamie O'Hara. Are Manchester United getting worse?
Oh, but they're terrible. They're 100% getting worse. I can't see how this can continue. They keep saying they want to back the manager and they're going to stick with it. They are awful. They're one of the worst Man United teams I've ever seen. His win percentage is one of the worst since World War II. You know, I think they've got 31 points from 31 games that he's been involved in. It's relegation form, it really is. And, you know, they've got to bite the bullet and say this is not going to work.
This is proof of what you're saying. So, since Ruben Amorim took over, of the 17 teams who are still in the Premier League, because of course 3 went down, Manchester United.
Not great viewing for Tottenham, that either, is
it? Exactly, and West Ham down there, because we're talking about West Ham since Potter came on. They are bottom, but since Amorim came on, Manchester United are bottom without 31 points in 31 games, which is what teams who are trying to stay in the table, stay in the Premier League, will aim for, a point a game. Now, in fairness, in the league, losing to Arsenal and Manchester City, that's not too bad. Drawing with Fulham, they beat Burnley. I know it was in the last minute.
Yeah, lost to Grimsby.
Grimsby in the EFL Cup as well. So Rooney says it's hard to even see progression or even signs of improvement. Do you agree with that?
There's no progression. There's no improvement. The only improvement you could potentially say is they've signed some decent players in Brian and Buemo. You know, in Cunha, who's picked up an injury. You know, that I believe they've got better in. But in terms of performances, there's no improvement. They played well against Arsenal. They lost. They lost. So at home, you know, and they had a decent game, but they didn't score. They lost 1-0. They were absolutely terrible against Grimsby. Shocking performance. Shocking against Man United. And they were bang average against Burnley, and they needed a last-minute mistake from a Burnley player to go and win the game. If that didn't happen, they'd be sitting on 2 points. 2 points. Come on, this is unacceptable for Man United. And I get it. They want to try and back a manager and they want to have stability. I'm sorry. I have never seen a performance so bad from a Man United team. It's getting worse and worse. And you can't tell me it's going to all of a sudden change and they're going to get better. He's been backed, he's got players in, and they're still terrible. The formation doesn't work, they've got no identity, the players have got a complete lack of confidence on the ball, without the ball. They don't get the system. They do not get the system, they can't make it work. And Ruben Amorim's so arrogant and so stuck in his ways of, this is how I'm going to play, the modern-day manager, this is my formation, this is how I want to play, 3-4-3, this is what we're doing. Well, you're basically telling the team every single week, this is how Man United are going to set up, this is the performance they're going to put in, and let's work on that and go and beat them. They get overrun in midfield every single week. They've got one of the best creative midfielders in the world in Bruno Fernandes. They're trying to play him as a number 6. He's not a number 6. He's a number 10. He's an attacking midfielder. You're taking everything away from his game. Honestly, it's painful to watch. It really is painful to watch, and I'm sick of hearing it. Every time I come on Sky, I've got to talk about Man United. They're terrible.
I think there's going to be more to come today as well. By the way, Paul Scholes, he's agreed with you. He said that for opposition teams, when they know how Manchester United play, it's a lot easier for them to set up. And OK, you might have known that with Sir Alex Ferguson, but they had Scholes, they had Giggs, they had Keane, etc.
Yeah, they had leaders as well.
It was a little bit different to this one. Right, let's get a fan's view now on this, because Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, you can go to the Sky Sports app for more details. Adam Stott is the fan that we've got on today. Adam, hello again to you. Wayne Rooney, I know your answer to this already, OK, but Wayne Rooney says United have got worse under Amorim. Do you agree?
Never lies, does it? We are where we are in the league, and you can't defend him with some of the decisions that he's making. Jamie's just laid out a few there. I disagree with the Burnley game. We battered them. It could have gone 4-0 up at Manchester United before half-time. That's probably one game you could argue. You could argue for him the Arsenal game. We were good in that game. The system worked. We nullified Arsenal. We had more chances created than them. But I get where everyone's argument is against him. You can't argue with the win percentage. That ratio is awful, and unless he changes it. And that's my point on it. He's got players there that can fit a system instantly, and this team will look completely different because players want to express themselves on the pitch. If he allows that to happen by changing up the shape and putting players where they should be on this pitch, then Ruben can make it happen at Man United. He understands what's going on behind the scenes, done a lot of work behind the scenes. He needs results. That's his big downfall right now, and there's no defence for him on that side of it.
Adam, he's not changing the formation.
Well, this is the thing, Jamie,
He's set his stall out. He's not going to change the formation.
Unless he does, he's sacked. I said the other day he's sacking himself. I don't want him to go. I think he understands what was needed at Manchester United. But like you've all said, like that's
what do you mean?
You can't argue against.
Mate, when you say that, he knows what Man United needs.
The culture. He knows all about it. He knows the Garnacho situation, the Marcus Rashford situation. I know, look, this is coming from a United fan side of things, and we watch our club every single week. We see these same players walking around the pitch, not giving the maximum amount of effort. He's been the first manager, and don't get me wrong, he's been backed with this as well. because he's the first manager that's had a structure behind him. The idiots that the Glazers had working for them before Ineos came in didn't know what they were doing. They weren't fit for the roles they were playing. So Ruben's had backing on this, and it's interesting to see how he now adapts with the players that he's got. But you picked out the points there, and that's the bit that I cannot argue against. But if he did change it, and again, it's hard for me to say that because he's not clearly doing that. If he did, he's got players there that he can get something out of.
But is that all he has to do? I mean, because changing the formation does seem quite simple. Is that all he has to do?
It's all he's got left to do. That's the only thing he can do right now. Look, I'm trying to defend a manager here that it's hard to defend against. Like, I get it. Look, the points are there. The problems are there for everybody to see. We've seen little glimpses of bits in games, but he's not playing Benjamin Sesko. He spent £73 million on a striker. Baltimore started for Newcastle at weekend and scored on his debut. It's embarrassing. Thomas Frank's gone in at Spurs and changed Spurs around, and they were worse than United last season. I get it all. But Thomas Frank's gone in and he's kept it simple at Spurs, and he's worked with the players that he's got and played to their strengths. If Ruben did this, he's got Mazraoui playing at right wing-back. He's not a right wing-back. He's got Ahmad playing at right wing-back. He's not a right wing-back. Bruno at 6, like Jamie said, he's not a 6. He's got players out of position.
So why do you want him to stay then?
Pitch.
Why do you want him to stay? I don't get Man United fans. What, because he's a nice geezer?
Like, no, not at all.
I don't get it.
Not at all, mate. I'm a United fan, Jamie, and I'm livid. I'm livid with what's going on right now. But you can see what he's got there, what he's developed, the players he's got rid of. If someone at Manchester United, say for instance, a Jason Wilcox, a sporting director, has a word of him, tells him, look, you might need to change this. It's like, who else comes in right now? Who else comes in right now? Who do you go and get? One of the old managers?
Well, that's the question, because we asked this for Flex yesterday, and there was no definitive him.
There isn't.
It was like, well, there could be him, there could be him, there could be him. Is there anyone in your mind? It sounds like no.
I mean, I've heard Jamie say before, go and get Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back. That's you never go back. Come on, you never go back. You've got
get Ole at the
available
wheel
right now. We have got a conveyor belt of managers at Manchester United. We're complaining about this one right now. Ten Hag's just been sacked after 2 games. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's just been sacked at Besiktas. Jose Mourinho's just been sacked at Fenerbahce. All these previous Man United managers that have failed at Manchester United are failing everywhere else. It's down to recruitment. If they trust in their manager, they should have given him more of what he wanted in the summer and spent more on him. They're going to have to back him now, but someone's going to have a word with him and say, look, you're going unless something changes here and you adapt your system a little bit.
Okay, but Adam, I'm going to tell you now, he ain't going to change the formation. It's going against everything that he believes in as a manager. You see it now with modern-day managers, these young managers that have come up...
Well, he said it. He said it, didn't he? If you want to change the system, now you change the man. That's what he said.
Well, exactly. He's not going to change. That's not going to happen.
By the way, there's a message on the bottom of the screen from Saeed who's suggested on the subject of who could come in if Amorim did go. And he's said Nuno Espirito Santo there and, of course, Jose Mourinho, who's been there as well. Do any of those names excite you in any way? Because the obvious you want to throw in is Eddie Howe, but at the moment, is Newcastle United more attractive than Manchester United for a manager?
Well, that's it. You said it right there, Tom. Why would Eddie Howe want to move to Manchester United right now? He's got an ownership model there that's right behind him, obviously. He's got a team there that's right behind him, that are listening to him, that are getting the message. There's no reason why Eddie Howe should be leaving Newcastle United. That's coming from a United fan right now. I'm looking at this like, look, we get what you deserve in football, don't you? We backed Ruben Amorim. We wanted rid of Erik ten Hag. I didn't think that was right for us. And now we have to deal with the consequences of this. I don't want an interim manager in again. The problem I've got with this is, it's like we just mentioned there isn't anybody outstanding right now that could come into Manchester United and change this around.
What about Iriola at Bournemouth?
You've got to get him from Bournemouth. Look at how they're running.
You're Man United.
They're in the Champions League places, Jamie.
They've played 4 games.
Yeah, I know that, but you were bigging up Spurs, saying that they're in the Champions League places
team,
as well.
Spurs are a good team this season. Yeah, but you look at it. Spurs when they got Thomas Frank, all right, Brentford manager, done a great job, give him the opportunity to go and be a bigger club, and it looks like he knows what he's doing, right? Tactically, they look better. Man United with Ruben Amorim, they've stuck with him after a terrible season, and you've started the season terrible. Iriola, for me, Iriola's the next manager who is going to go to a big football club. Don't miss out on him. If you're going to sack Ruben Amorim, sometimes you just got to go, right, this hasn't worked out. we got to let this one go. It's not going to work. Let's go
Jamie, on that,
before
honestly,
someone else goes and gets him.
Honestly, on that, like you're right in what you're saying. Look, it's like I said it at the start before we started there. Like I cannot defend what's happening on paper. I would get Iraola. I would go and get Glasner from Crystal Palace.
What
I would
about
get
Mourinho?
managers like that.
Mourinho's he had a 58% win percentage at Man United. You know, the one below Sir Alex Ferguson is Mourinho in terms of win percentages.
Pragmatic manager right now
You won
coming into
games.
Manchester United.
You won
who's going to keep
matches.
it simple. I know. I'm saying this now. I'm saying a pragmatic manager right now would probably get more out of this team. It just goes to show how bad the players are as well. They were talking professional footballers who can't adapt to a system. It's ridiculous in my eyes. I mean, Jamie, you know that when a new manager comes in, you work your ass off and you play. You do everything you can to work and understand that. You're a professional. How can they not get what he wants? I understand playing players out of position, but come on, some of these performances from Man United players have just been absolutely ridiculous. You've got Luke Shaw in the side there, who's been at the club for over a decade, 11 years. He's been available for 3 of them years for Manchester United. We're talking about giving Harry Maguire a contract extension at the end of the season. The same problems are there for Manchester United constantly. No other big club would keep these players at the club. You could argue no other club would keep the manager there as well, to be honest, with the results that we've got. But honestly, right now, this Manchester United side has to look at themselves as well. We are going to end up probably sacking Ruben Amorim. You can see it coming, the writing's on the wall, unless he does the unthinkable that we've just discussed and changes it up.
Well, how bad is it? Because there's a message there from Brahim says that relegation beckons. You don't actually believe that, do you?
Well, the table never lies. Look, results are results. The relegation form is there. Look, you've just both been talking about it. Jamie picked it up. Since Ruben Amorim's been there, he's not a point a game. Wayne Rooney said it. Paul Scholes has said it. Gary Neville will always try and defend the manager. I've seen what he said on Sky Sports this weekend as well. But even he is now coming down to, we've seen this movie before. We know what's happening. The same noises are coming from the media. The same problems. I'm hearing things coming out of Manchester United that he's not convinced himself. His staff are not convinced by him. Look, he can do it if he changes it. But if he doesn't, that's the only argument I've got for him. Like, I'm not trying to defend what's happening here with Ruben Amorim. I'm a United fan who's lost with where this football club is going right now, and it's hard. Like, you don't know what's next.
In terms of names, we are going to wrap it up soon, but in terms of other names there, has the job now gone past Ryan Giggs? OK, you can't put him in there, can't put like a club legend in there. What about Kieran McKenna, who, when he got Ipswich up, was looking like he could be the next Manchester United manager? I know they've gone down again, but could it be him? He's still on an upward trajectory. There are other names as well out there who could fit, but completely different to what you're looking at. Players, managers who are doing well in the Premier League right now, but you could look away from that. And someone who might just be the right fit for the club.
I think the club went into the transfer window this summer with a vision of bringing in Prem-proven players. I think you need to do the same with a manager.
Yeah.
I think what you need is someone who knows the Premier League. Jose knows the Premier League, Glasner, Iraola, successful in the Premier League. I don't want anyone from outside the Premier League at the moment. It's just, I think United needs stabilising. I think they just need to get a solid base. It's just overly complicated at United. Everything just seems overly complicated at the moment at United. And the examples are there. Brentford lost the manager, lost the captain, lost the leading goal scorer, brought a manager in from the EFL, and I hired a Man United to get it straight away. Why does it not work at United?
Yeah, I mean, well, Keith Andrews was already at the club, of course, in a different role. But
Kieran McKenna was at Man United as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's not a bad shout.
That's probably the name the reason for throwing that name in. Adam, I promise that one day we'll talk to you in much happier circumstances for your club. But thank you this morning.
Not anytime soon.
Cheers, guys.
Back to the Premier League show. Leicester goalkeeper Asmir Begovic alongside me. Look, it was another dramatic European night at Anfield last night. Flying start for Liverpool, but Atletico fought back into it, didn't they? Captain Virgil van Dijk, 92nd minute winner. 5 wins from 5. They love a late win, don't they? Will Arne Slot have any concerns about that?
No, I don't think so. I think he'll be very pleased with that, actually. I think when you look at the mentality of these teams, top teams have that. You know, it's the relentless attitude to go all the way to the end. And I think it's so important because it's not always going to be as straightforward to win the game early on and make sure it's cruise control from there. So sometimes you have to go all the way to the end. I think what will please him as well is the players that are scoring those goals, the squad, the substitutions, the bench impact. So I think overall for him it'll be a positive thing. ideally, of course, you'd like to score a bit more and win games a little bit more comfortably, but ultimately it's about winning and having that relentless mentality. And, you know, I think Jurgen Klopp called them mentality monsters back in the day, so they're definitely proving that right.
Listen, from a goalkeeper's perspective, a late winner, that must be hard to take when it's scored against you. You think you've got there, you think, oh, I've got a few more seconds left, and then bam.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you're on the receiving end of it, it's definitely difficult. But then there's no better way of winning a game. So if you're on the other side, it's a fantastic moment. So I think from them, they're taking a lot of confidence. Liverpool, I mean, as strong as ever. Within as well, a side that is still embedding new signings. I mean, we saw with Alexander Isak starting for the first time last night. A bunch of new signings this summer. So I think from that standpoint, to be winning, keeping that confidence going, and embedding all these players, I think for them it's a positive thing.
Okay, great. Dave, over to you.
Now, every time you think they just can't keep doing it, they just keep on doing it, don't they, Liverpool? They just keep scoring late goals to win games. Another one last night against Atletico Madrid. And then in the Premier League as well, Mo Salah's penalty against Burnley meant that Liverpool became the only side in history to score winning goals in the final 10 minutes in 4 consecutive Premier League matches. Now, what this means is that Liverpool haven't actually spent that long in front in a game. This shows us the Premier League's game state. So that's the proportion of time on the pitch that teams are losing, drawing or ahead. We've picked out the top 7 teams here who've been in a winning game state for the longest time. Bournemouth have been in front in the Premier League 66% of the time this season. That's the most out of anyone. Despite winning 4 out of 4 and being top of the Premier League, Liverpool have spent just 32% of their playing time in front. Now, most of that is probably accounted for by the time they were ahead against Bournemouth on the opening night of the season. The rest of the time, Liverpool have been in a drawing game state. So, can Liverpool keep this going? This is their fixture difficulty rating by opponent's league position over the next 6 game weeks. It's the Merseyside derby next in big, bold red for you. That is a tough game for Liverpool. Then it's away at Crystal Palace. Then they have got a trip to Stamford Bridge as well, another difficult game for Arne Slot's side. Visualised in green there, what is kind of decided as an easier game now, Manchester United at home. Can Liverpool keep this going?
And Dave loves a stat. I was going to call you Statman Dave, but that title was taken. OK, let's get on to Alexander Isak. We saw glimpses of his potential link-up play with Isak and Florian Wirtz. How much has he impressed you so far?
Yeah, I think he's shown glimpses, obviously. We all know that the type of player he is and how good of a player he is. It's going to add a great new dimension for Liverpool. And, you know, the strength and depth now to have Ekitike coming off the bench, still being at such a young age, is for them a fantastic luxury. So, really good signs. Again, I think you can see the link-up play. Isak, Wirtz is getting more comfortable every single game as well. He's incredibly young. So I think for them, so much potential to grow, to get better. And if they're winning all the games now, just imagine, obviously, as the season goes on, it's going to get even better. So for them, I think they're in a really good position.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about strength of depth, actually, because, as you mentioned, Ekitike came on. At the same time, Alexis McAllister, Conor Bradley replaced Gakpo and Frimpong. How key is that strength in depth? We've heard it a lot about Arsenal already this season as well.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's especially for their ambitions. I think they want to go all the way in 4 competitions, and they want to win the Premier League, Champions League, and of course the cup competition. So for them, if those are your ambitions and that's what you want to do, is to win every game and every competition you're in, then you need a squad to do that. You need 20+ players who are ready to go at any time and, you know, make that difference when called upon, obviously off the bench or obviously from the beginning of the game.
So they're going for all 4. How many are they going to get?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I'd reckon Liverpool this year. I know a lot of people have got them as the favourites for the Premier League, so that could be one. And I think if they get another one, they'll be very happy because, again, the teams in the Premier League and the competition is incredibly fierce. You look at the Champions League and some of the teams at the top looking fantastic. Again, you look at Bayern Munich last night, very impressive against Chelsea. So there's going to be some really top competition for them as the season goes on. And if they keep a lot of their players healthy, stay away from injuries, I reckon Liverpool could win maybe a couple of trophies.
OK, 2 out of 4, 50%.
Yeah,
That's what you're going for. Look, I wanted to ask you about Diego Simeone. He said that he regretted his clash with some Liverpool fans at the end of the match at Anfield, but he did reveal that it was sparked by insults that he received throughout the game. There are questions that, as a coach, did he let himself down? But also the other side of it is he's only human. You know, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think, football is played by human beings. These are incredibly emotional games. It's a big Champions League night at Anfield, and his team came back from 2 goals down, really showed a lot of character. I mean, he's a very passionate coach himself, was a passionate player. We all know Diego Simeone and his history and, how much he's given to the game. So, you're really emotionally invested in these games. So if something's being said, you're being heckled from the crowd, and you can see that goal at the end, it's a bitter pill to swallow. It really is. It's a big kick in the teeth. And I think for him, it's a reaction. It's an emotional reaction. It's a human reaction. Of course, you'd like to maybe handle it differently, and he might regret it a little bit, but it's totally understandable.
Next up for Liverpool then, Merseyside derby, as you mentioned, at Anfield on Saturday. Do you think Everton are going to be wary of their attacking threat here?
They really will be. I think, again, Liverpool have had the upper hand in obviously recent years. But I think Everton will be full of confidence. I think the way they're performing, I think the performance against Aston Villa, even though they didn't win the game last weekend, was at a really high level. Really good start, some top signings with Jack Grealish and Dewsbury Hall within that side. So I think they go to Anfield probably in the best position they've been in a long time, heading to Anfield. I've been there the last 3 or 4 years, and we've always gone to Anfield on the back foot a little bit, fighting against relegation. So actually the fact that Everton are so high up the table, playing so well, playing freely, it's almost a bit of a free hit going there. I think you can go there and really express yourself, give it a really good go. The fact that Liverpool played on a Wednesday night, early kickoff on Saturday, I think will be helpful for Everton. So they'll be wary. Listen, Liverpool is a top side, top attacking threats all over the pitch. But I think Everton are well up for the challenge.
Thinking a Liverpool win here, or what are you saying?
I'm going to go for a draw.
Oh, come on.
Come on, Bella. I can't do that. I've given him two trophies just now. I can't give him a win in the Merseyside derby
All right,
as well.
I'll let you off.
So
for now.
Up the toffees.
There, right, let's move on to Manchester United. We're going to talk about Ruben Amorim's future at the club. A newspaper report this morning says that Amorim effectively has 3 games to save his job. Here is the story at the top of the Mirror's back page, when we can show you that. It says that the club's officials will assess the situation after United's next 3 matches. That's Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Sunderland at home. United's board have said that they have no plans to change the head coach, but Amorim's side have just 4 points from their opening 4 matches. Right, OK, Charlie, what do you make of that?
What are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? If they're in that thought process now, we're going to give them 3 games and they'll go to Chelsea next. But I'm like, what are you waiting for? If you want to make that decision, just make it now. Cut your losses and move on.
Do you think they've made they've decided they want to change him?
I think they've made the decision because they might think that something's going to happen. They may see progression, see it differently, but I just don't understand why they're waiting for. I really don't. Like, you've seen the performances, and he's had long enough audition, right?
But if he wins the next 3, 2 of them are at home. I mean, OK, Chelsea's hard, but it is at home.
Yeah.
Brentford away, obviously...
Tough. Premier League game.
Yes, but they'll fancy it. And Sunderland at home, they will fancy it. Sadly.
Yeah, but they fancied it again. Yeah, they're tough games, Premier League games, tough against Burnley.
But if he gets 9...
They fancied it against Burnley and just scraped over the line and won 3-2. And the argument to it is, yeah, but we won the game of football. That's the scenario. Manchester United are not in that position anymore of where they're like rolling over teams. That's the issue.
We had Manchester United fans on the last few days saying that if Ruben Amorim did go, they don't want an interim manager. They want him replaced properly. But nobody could come up with a definite name to do that.
Sean Dyche. I said Sean Dyche and got laughed at, and everyone was going, oh my God, he means Sean Dyche to go in there. It was Sean Dyche or someone like that to really stabilise the football club, strong character, have a certain way of playing and be able to adapt. The next manager...
Amorim's got a certain way of playing.
Yeah, and be able to adapt is the key thing. His thing is not about adapting. For me, it's borderline arrogance. His is arrogance now because he's like, look, this is the way I play. My players have got to adapt to me and us playing 3-4-3. And then we hear the best manager in world football say he adapts to every game differently. He's going to adapt 3 times in
Guardiola.
A week. In Guardiola, didn't he? Let's be honest, he said Manchester United, Napoli and Arsenal, I'm going to have to adapt all 3 times. And then you've got Ruben Amorim not doing the business at Manchester United, playing 3-4-3.
So let's say that story is true and things don't go well in the next 3 games and Manchester United do look for a new manager. That message there says Andoni Iraola, and loads of Manchester United fans have been saying his name.
Of course they would be, because he's doing really well at Bournemouth. But Manchester United, other than being a massive football club...
Potter was doing well at Brighton and went to Chelsea.
Exactly. Other than being a massive football club and being... The opportunity is there to take the club forward and you be the man to take it forward... It's not an attractive place for a young manager now.
Adam says Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah, similar, but it's not an attractive place now for your manager. Nuno would be a good one, obviously, also to go in there. A style of play and a control of the dressing room. You see the clubs, what he's done well. He's done well at Wolves, went to Tottenham, it didn't work out too great. And then obviously the job he's done at Nottingham Forest has been fantastic.
Tom there says it's not the formation that's the problem, because Erik ten Hag played a different
I
formation.
understand that, I do. And we were saying beforehand, like I said on Monday regarding the goals, there's nothing to do with the formation. Like the goals, that's down to the players. But arguably, the buck stops at the manager. He picks the players, he picks the formation. So always the pressure is going to be on the manager's door.
Yesterday or maybe Monday, it might have even been both. We spoke live to Manchester United fans and we brought up Eddie Howe, and they said, well, yeah, he would be perfect, but why would he leave Newcastle?
He did. Forget Eddie Howe out of your thought process, Manchester United fans. He is.
But
not...
in fairness, they did. They did kind of say, well, we can't. They did say we can't attract him.
OK, absolutely, they can't attract him. So what? Because he's at Newcastle, and the project that's going on there is a far bigger one. Because they're fighting to get in the Champions League, they're fighting for later competitions. Manchester United's project at the moment is to try and get into Europe, get into the top half of the table. Because at the moment, they have been poor for a long, long time.
It does seem still, for 3 days we've talked about this, and nobody can come up with a definitive name who is perfect for Manchester United. Is that why he will get more time?
I think so.
At some point,
I think so.
Person will come up.
But who is the perfect person? That's also along the line. Who is the perfect person? I don't think there is a perfect person to go in at Manchester United at the moment. There really isn't. I just think it comes down for me is the arrogance of Manchester United, of expectation. We expect to be at the top and we expect to be doing this. Well, actually, do you know what? You don't, because at the moment, you're nowhere near top half, nowhere near European football.
What about going back to someone who understands the demands of being at Manchester United, like, I mean, they had it with interim manager with Giggs, but what about Carragher, for instance, or someone like that? I mean,
but I just think it's
you're going from. I'm throwing names in. I know that.
It's not an attractive. It's not an attractive job. To go to Manchester United, it's not one that real wants you to go in there and you'd be like, oh, I'm Manchester United, I'm going to make this work. Because if you don't, you know the pressure's on from the get-go. And that's why, ultimately, there's no standout one. And we're going about Riola at Bournemouth, but he's probably looking at, yeah, massive football club, Manchester United, but do I really want to go in there and, yeah, it'd be great if I can turn it around and I'd be the guy to bring success back, but do I really want to have all the fans on me, all the pressure on me straight away? No.
United and whether Ruben Amorim should ditch his 3-4-3 system. They lost 3-0 in the Manchester derby on Super Sunday and have made the worst start to a Premier League season for 33 years.
Not going to change. When I want to change my philosophy, I will change. If not, you have to change the man. So, and we will talk about that every game that we lose. I don't believe in that, in the system or whatever. I play my way and I'm going to play my way until I want to change.
More on about the supporters and the media losing kind of belief in this management. My worry is if the players aren't truly behind them in terms of the way they're playing in this system, because the results just haven't been good enough.
They're 14th in the league. It's only 4 games in. And we all said at the end of last season we can't be getting into October where Manchester United are 14th, 15th in the league, or else the manager will be in trouble. Now, there's a few games to go before that, but they have to start winning quickly.
Right, so good morning to Charlie Austin. Charlie, Amorim says he won't be changing his approach, but should he?
First and foremost, I think that shows his stubbornness, his arrogance about trusting what he wants to do in his own mind. But ultimately, the results are not showing that. He's seeing something in training, 3-4-3's working, but it certainly ain't on match days because they're not getting the results. So he can go on about, if I'm not going to change my system, change the man. I think ultimately he's being so stubborn that it's actually affecting Manchester United now.
Well, let's get a fan's perspective now, and Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where fans share their opinions on their clubs. If you want to represent your club, you can. Scan that QR code or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. We can speak to Manchester United fan now, Flex. Flex, always great to see you. Good morning. I know it's probably not too much of a good morning for you, but we're asking about this format. Yeah, I can tell by your shaking head. Classic shirt, though. I like that.
Yeah, just got to remind myself of the good old days sometimes, you know?
Well, this 3-4-3 formation, is that the main problem right now?
It's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest because we clearly don't have the players to play this formation. There's been no improvement within this formation. I think what people are misunderstanding of who want to keep going in this direction is that this is a really big sample size now. This isn't 1 or 2 games, or we're not seeing anomalies of performances. How I saw us perform against Grimsby Town in this same system was the same way we got dismantled against Manchester City. So that means that this system is fundamentally flawed. When you're playing against players and you're losing games, and you've got people coming out after the games, whether it be coaches or your opposition players, saying, well, we exploited this because we knew they had 2 in there. And, you know, you've got Pep Guardiola putting 4 central midfielders in there against 2 to outnumber us. You've got the manager saying, I'm going to stick to this. You're basically, it's like turning up to a poker game and showing everybody your hand and telling everybody, this is what I've got, this is what I'm going to have, I won't deviate from this. How do you expect to win card games, or in this case, games of football? So it's a huge problem. I don't think it's reactionary. Again, I think there's this thing from some Man United fans that are suggesting that this is reactionary. I'm going to remind you guys of some stuff here now. We've played nearly 50 games in all competitions with Ruben Amorim. 31 of those come in the Premier League. In the Premier League alone, we've only won 8 games. We have not won more than 1 game in a month since January. Since January, Manchester, forget back-to-back wins, Man United have not even won 2 games in a month since January. So if that doesn't tell you the system's an issue, I don't know what will.
I know it's a big talking point, right, about the system. It really is. And like you say, the way they played yesterday, you're trying to compare the performance to Grimsby, right? But let's just look at the goals. The goals is nothing to do about formation, right? So I've been a big advocate to say about the formation, but yesterday, skips through, Doku skips through, Bruno Fernandes doesn't check his shoulder once. He comes out and says, I thought Lenny Yoro's going to go in there into the space. Well, you didn't check your shoulder, you ball watched the whole time, and the only time you turned around was when the ball come off Phil Foden's head, the ball's in the back of the net. Second goal, for me, Luke Shaw has got to anticipate where the danger is. Where's the danger? He's covering De Ligt, he allows Haaland to get into that space, curtains, 1-on-1 with the goalie over. And then for the third goal, terrible pass into Harry Maguire, that Manchester United leave Haaland basically 1-on-1 with the goalie. We go in this situation, that's nothing on formations. For me, yesterday, Luke Shaw was a number of bad performers for Man United yesterday.
Agreed. And this is why when Tom said, is this the biggest problem? I said it's one of the biggest problems, because then you've got to talk about, of course, the individuals not being up to par, which is a separate situation. But also you have to look at, when you look at Bruno Fernandes there, where does that decision derive from, Charlie? Let's talk about this. Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United, everybody knows it, is Manchester United's most efficient attacker. He will get you goals, he will get you assists. What our manager has decided to do this season, it's his decision, nobody else's, is to replace him with 2 other 10s, in Keane and Bruno, and play him in central midfield.
But Cunha didn't play yesterday, Flex.
No, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. No, he didn't, but hear me out on this. If you put Bruno Fernandes into central midfield as an 8 or a 6 in a 2-man midfield, we all know that what you're now doing is minimising his biggest strengths on the pitch and exposing his biggest weaknesses. I can replay you that same goal at Fulham, Charlie. I saw Emil Smith-Rowe run straight in behind Bruno Fernandes and get a tap in. Yeah. Why does that happen? Because I'm not just defending Bruno because he's an experienced player and should know better. But at the same time, the manager is playing him now in a position that is so key on this pitch. Bruno doesn't have the natural instinct to go and put out fires before they begin. Bruno doesn't have the natural instinct to sniff out danger or to be tracking runners in a deeper position. That's not his game. That's not his game. And the manager's decided to do this. And it's not working.
Who should the 2 in midfield be then? And I know that you think Fernandes should play further forward, and most Manchester United fans we speak, in fact, all of them, say the same thing. But who should be the 2 in midfield?
Well, this is the problem we've got, Tom, because out of the partnerships that we have currently with the midfield setup, with how Ruben wants to play, none of them particularly complement each other very well. If I'm honest, I think Gary Neville touched on it yesterday in his comms, that actually, when you look at the pairing of Ugarte and say Mainu, or Mainu and Casemiro, or Casemiro and Bruno. Like Gary touched on it, he said you're looking for someone like a prime Kante alongside a Yaya Toure or so. It's not conducive to what we have. So until you get those tools, you have to play a certain way. You have to find a way, and Ruben's not doing that.
And when I was watching yesterday, Flex, for me, I was watching. Do you know what? I've talked about the price tag and 74 million Sesko. Manchester United don't even play for the centre forward. It's almost he's up there being hung out to dry for me looking at it. Like, we can all be here and say, oh, he doesn't do this. Manchester United don't play for a centre forward. It's just another in the Jenga pieces of problems. Like, where do all the goals come from? There's no number 9. Your most attacking player, your man who scores goals and makes chances is not high enough up the pitch.
But that's Diallo as well. Because Diallo's playing right wing back, so him and Fernandes aren't high enough up the pitch.
But he's not. But Diallo's not getting the ball off the back four. He's not dropping in the middle and getting the ball like Fernandes. And for me, it's a wasted place for him to be out there. There's almost no need for him to be there. And all of a sudden now, because we're always talking about the 3-4-3, Manchester United almost like, well, we need to get Bruno in the team. And we spent the money on Cunha and we spent the money on Mbeumo, so he'll have to play an 8 or a 6. And that's Manchester United's football captain. That is the captain of Manchester United just being put out there.
The plan hasn't worked. If this was the succession plan for Bruno Fernandes in terms of this year, then when you look at what happened with Saudi, if you were going to use him in this way, i.e. taking him out of his strongest position, then you maybe should have moved on from Bruno Fernandes then and spent 100 million somewhere else. I love Bruno Fernandes and I stick up for him all the time because I think he gets it. I know he gets a rough time. There's times where he throws his arms up. There's times where he's poor like he was yesterday. But by and large, like I say, I don't forget what he does for this team when the team's active, or even when the team's not doing very well. You can rely on him, right? But like I said, if this was where you were going to play him, it doesn't make any sense. And what's happening now is that, you know, Ahmad played in the left 10 yesterday and a mixture of the right 10. He didn't even play right wing back yesterday where he has been playing. And there's still no avail. Back to what you're saying about Benjamin Sesko, Charlie. It's 100% true, right? Because some people can look at, you're having a pop at him, this, that, and the other. No, let's just call it for what it is. Let's not bury our head in the sand or under a rock and think everybody's out to get Man United. These are real life stats that are in front of us that are laid out. This isn't just knee-jerk reaction. And if I'm Benjamin Sesko, I'm probably thinking of try and get out in January and get to Napoli with Rasmus Højlund. He scored straight away on his debut, you know, and it's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden now Benjamin Sesko's not a good player. All of a sudden now he's poor, and that just isn't right. It's like all of a sudden in Bruno is the same thing. He looks poor now. It's
and
the
at the moment with that, Flex, it just seems to be like when players come to Manchester United, that's the category they go into. He plays for Man United now, he's poor. He's not performing. You just got to call it for what it is. And how I see it is that Benjamin Sesko, Manchester United are not playing for the number 9.
Well, on the point of the midfield, Flex, if you listen to this, because we've got a voice note from another Manchester United fan who sent one in. I think his name's Jesse. Just hear what he says about it.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jesse from Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa. I'm a Man United fan. I don't think we have problems with Ruben. I don't think it's the formation. I think it would have been a better season if United would have got us a new number 6 and a number 8 as well. And as well, United needed to strengthen in defense as well, because United are taking too many goals, which is one of the biggest problems we also suffered last season.
I get that, and I understand what he's saying, right? If you needed a number 6 or a number 8, because Ruben Amorim is just going to stick to that formation, then cash in on Bruno Fernandes, take the 100 million. You have to park the fact he's your top goal scorer. He makes most chances in the Premier League, etc., etc. You have to go and sign it. And I think the biggest thing also on it is defensive areas. Manchester United are weak in them areas. So being a club that wants to be at the top end, that's not the players you needed, because always we're going back to Harry Maguire. Everything that goes wrong, right, get Harry Maguire in. So why doesn't he start in there? I'm not saying that's the person they should go to, but they're always the one that he looks to if something's going wrong up there. And defensively, if something's going wrong, if they need a goal, we can put in Harry Maguire on.
Yeah, he always finds a way. Well, actually, the defenders always find their way on the pitch as well, Charlie, because Ruben Amorim has this thing of always changing the centre-backs during the game anyway, which I was under the impression of. We had a lot of games last year. There's a lot of load to carry. So I'm mixing it up a little bit. Now we've done our best to make sure we have even less games by going out the Carabao Cup before the big teams even got in it. So that's even less games. And we're still changing centre-backs. But I think the biggest problem that we have, I don't think it's at the back. I think it is at the top end of the pitch. I had no problems with us investing highly into that pitch, into that area of the pitch. Man United scored 44 Premier League goals last year. The only team to score less than that stayed up was Everton, apart from the relegated side. So that shows me that was our biggest problem. We conceded last year in line with some of the better teams in the league, 50-odd goals. It wasn't the worst. So I understand that heavy investment in that bit. But for me, the midfield has always been one of the biggest problems because we don't control games, Charlie. That's what's going on. Man United never have a foothold of the game where they can control the game through midfield, dictate the tempo, take the sting out of the game, increase the tempo. You know it, Charlie. Everything is won and lost in midfield, right? If you don't have that, you're toast. You're going to have a bit of individual brilliance here and there. We made hard work of it against Burnley. But at the same time, you're not going to get away with that against better opposition. And let's have it right. This is a Manchester City team under pressure, by the way. This is a Manchester City team where certain Man City fans, I spoke to them in the build-up to this game, sort of questioning what's going on. We're not scoring goals. Pep's making some odd decisions.
We was having the conversation. Flex, we're having the conversation where we're saying who actually needs to win the game more.
And it seemed like it was Man City, the general consensus that it was Manchester City. But Fleck, there's a message on the bottom of the screen there from Robbie, who sent in a WhatsApp saying Manchester United brought in the wrong players and got the wrong manager. OK, what do you think on the manager front?
I just think it's getting increasingly difficult to pinpoint where you see this clicking into gear. You talk about sliding doors moments. I'm looking at even when we win football matches and you don't get that sense of, I tell you what, it's a bit of relief here. Looks like we're onto something. You don't see it. And then when you just lay the stats out in front of you, I almost don't understand what we're actually having a conversation about. If I took you guys to Fort Park and I said, get on this ride, it's got a 25% chance of making it round safely. You're going to get on it. You're not. You're going to go, it's a 25% chance of making it round. What's that about? You're going to get on it, mate.
And I get you on that bit, Flex, was I'm saying now, and a manager front, let's just say, fast forward 6 months, Manchester United make the change. What manager, up-and-coming manager, is going to want to take that job at Manchester United? And also, Manchester United need to go in that direction where they think, we need to get the top managers, we need to get experienced, etc., etc. No, it's not an attractive job. No one's looking at it going, I could change that around.
If you've got an ego, it is, though. If you've got an ego, imagine being the manager that turns Manchester United around. If you've got an ego in your back yourself.
That's not a quick fix, though, chaps. That's not a quick fix.
There is absolutely no quick fix to Man United. And I don't think any Man United fans that get accused of, you ain't got the stomach for a rebuild and all of this nonsense I keep hearing. I don't think that's fair on those fans. I don't think it's fair to see a sample size this big and this bad, breaking all types of records with no improvement in the team, for fans to be concerned. And what seems to happen is there's this infighting amongst fans. You get it when you come on here, people sort of saying, you're letting people, come at the club and you're better than it. Hang on a minute. Let's just look at what's happened. This is not me making this up. This is not Man United fans being reactionary. If anything, Man United fans get laughed at half the time for being way too patient. Thinking Ollie's going to turn it around. Finishing 8th with Eric Ten Hag. He's won an FA Cup. Oh, look at the deluded Man United fans who think, give him another chance. I was one of them saying, let's keep going. They've got this new guy, Ruben. Keep sticking with it. I tell you what, he's finished 15th, but let him get his players. Let's get to the summer. He needs 1 game a week, he's told us. The better days are coming. Look at the United fans lapping it up. So I think this narrative that Man United fans are being knee-jerk or scattergun or going too quickly, I think that needs to stop, because you can see what's happening here. In terms of the other side of it, Charlie, you're right. It isn't a quick fix, but I think what's actually scaring a lot of Man United fans into thinking that this is actually working is that fact. Who do you get? What you're going to do?
Well,
and sometimes
have you got someone in mind? Have you got someone in mind? By the way, this is if Amorim goes. I'm not, but if he goes, have you got someone that you actually want in that hot seat?
Tom, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, mate. I ain't got a clue anymore. I don't. Whether that's go and get Conte, he knows what a big club is. I tell you what, get someone in there who knows the Premier League. Whether that, tell you what, go and get Unai Emery, go and get Glasner, go and get Iriola. He's the top. Tell you what, Nuno's free. Go and get him. I don't know. But what I do know is that it definitely feels like playing this way and continuing this way with this manager is just not, we can already see it's not sustainable, in my opinion. And I don't think that's a mad shout. I don't think that's something where you look at and go, deluded United, don't have the stomach. I hear it all the time. You're not a proper fan if you don't think this is all right. I think don't understand
on
it.
That bit as well, Flex, is that you're saying about a Manchester United fan and seeing it from that. But as a football fan watching, you can see the errors that are happening. on
Exactly.
the pitch, and then we hear about all the stuff that's going off it as well. So it's not just Manchester United fans also. I think it is football fans as well.
It seems to be. Flex, great to speak to you today. Thank you.
Nice. So can you get me on when we have a win, please? Next time we have a win. I don't know when that is, but whenever we do, can you speak to me in more positive circumstances?
We'll get you in happier circumstances.
Morning's newspapers. Joining us are the Athletics football correspondent David Ornstein and TalkSport broadcaster Shaban Ahern. Welcome to you both. Before we chat, let's quickly run through the back pages. Starting with the Express, quick off the marks. This is after Gabriel Martinelli scores just 36 seconds after coming off the bench for Arsenal in their win over Athletic Club. In the Star, also focus on Arsenal, Gab Fab. Arteta very pleased with his super sub. This, in The Guardian, focuses on the other side of North London, Spurs, as they also make a winning start to their return to the Champions League. They win 1-0. OK, impressive wins there for both Premier League sides tonight in Europe, Arsenal and Spurs. Let's start with Arsenal, though, David. And how impressive was this win on the road? Could have been a tricky tie, but Arsenal got the 2-0 win that they wanted.
I think it was massive, Jess. I think it's 2 English clubs prior to Arsenal have won against Bilbao at St Mamés in Europe, and so Arsenal become the 3rd side. The atmosphere seemed incredible there tonight in the Basque region, and also the sort of intensity of the opposition. They were all making their Champions League debuts, which is a real rarity. I don't think that's happened with an English side since Blackburn in 1995. And Arsenal, having reached the semi-finals last time round and wanting to go better this season and try and push on and win some silverware under Mikel Arteta. They've invested so heavily. They've added real depth to their squad. We saw that again tonight with the substitutes or finishers, as Mikel Arteta described them, Martinelli and Trossard combining for both goals to make the difference. And Arsenal have a lot of room for improvement still, but that's a fantastic, very important, even lucrative victory with the money you earn for each win in the sort of new format competition. And it also sets them up really nicely for Manchester City, that huge match on Sunday, and they get a couple of extra days over City to rest before playing them at home too.
Yeah, Shaban, we'll talk about the improved squad depth of this Arsenal side, but it was actually an older player that came in and did the job for Arsenal in Gabriel Martinelli. Took just 36 seconds after coming on in the second half to get that goal. How impressive was he? Because he's been under some pressure, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's Mikel Arteta's put himself in this position where he can start to change up what's been an absolutely excellent centre-back pairing for Arsenal. Mosquera's really hit the ground running. And Mikel Arteta said it in the press conference. He said it post-match as well. It's difficult for him to leave the likes of Martinelli on the bench, somebody who's been so important to his side and the job that they've been doing, especially over the last couple of seasons. But to come on and to get a goal after 36 seconds and then to assist Leandro Trossard as well, I think really shows the togetherness that he's got from that squad. He was asked that post-match. He was asked about the love that Martinelli got from the players around him. There's a lot of love and respect and togetherness from this Arsenal side. So really, really impressive. I mean, it did take them 70-odd minutes to break down Bilbao, but in the end, they got the job done. And there's pressure. Let's face it, there's pressure on Arsenal this season to deliver silverware, and that they'll come away happy with.
We have to talk about the squad depth, don't we, David? Because they didn't necessarily have this last season, but they've invested heavily, £250 million in their summer transfer window. 5 of the 8 new signings started the game this evening, and it seems to be paying off for this Arsenal side.
Yeah, it really does. Let's be clear, they've done really well in the last few years. 3 consecutive second-place finishes in the Premier League and the Champions League semi-finals. No other English team got that far, and they should have really gone through against PSG. If it wasn't for Donnarumma, they would have. But they have suffered very severely with injuries and absentees in those 3 years, you could say. And now that seems to be very different because those that are coming in, Shaban pointed out there, Mosquera, who seems an absolute revelation at what, £13 million? A real nod to Andrea Berta, the sporting director in at Arsenal now. And you're seeing that across other positions as well, even in the fullback roles and into midfield, a number of different options. I think it was Norgard on the bench for the first time in Arsenal colours this evening. And then if you go into the positions further forward, you've got Eze starting and what a signing that could prove to be. It wasn't his best night tonight, but he's made his Champions League debut. The same with Noni Madueke, who had another really good game on the right side in the absence of Bukayo Saka. They've got a number 9 now who's fit and available and causing defences trouble. He's got goals already this season in Gyökeres, and I'm sure he will get better. But a real word of acknowledgement for Martinelli tonight. We've seen the likes of Trossard coming in recent years and doing the job when needed. But Martinelli's essentially lost his place just recently. There has been scrutiny on him, as you say. There was speculation over whether he might have been sold in the summer. Yet what he did in the Bernabeu against Real Madrid with that crucial goal, he's replicated it again tonight with a brilliant run and maybe a slightly fortuitous finish. But his attitude to come off the bench and make such an immediate impact, I think a bit of respect's needed to be put on his name. The way he has responded and how Mikel Arteta said in his post-match comments that he saw it in his eyes, that he was ready to deliver straight away and that he adores him. So that squad depth could be absolutely critical for Arsenal this season. It may make the difference as they look to make the step up and win silverware.
Put some respect on Martinelli's name, David Ornstein says. OK, let's talk about the other side of North London and Tottenham Hotspur, because they made a winning return to the Champions League as well. Let's turn our attentions to the back of The Guardian, where it says Spurs up and running after helping hand out of course, after that own goal from the Athletic Club goalkeeper, Luis Junior. What did you make of this performance, Shaban? Because it's a good result, but performance-wise, was it what you expected to see?
They started well, didn't they, Spurs? I don't know about you guys, but I certainly felt the second half of the game was pretty flat. They kind of ran out of steam. It wasn't quite clicking in the second half. And then you look at the result and maybe the fact that it had to get an own goal for them to win the game. You've got to hand massive credit to Bergvall, though, only 19 years old. And he's becoming a bit of a fan favourite, isn't he, for Spurs? He did create tonight, and it was a huge error from the goalkeeper from Villarreal, and that's why Spurs managed to win 1-0. I expected more from them, I really did, because they started strong. But at the end of the day, they come away with the win, and they'll be happy with that. There's something about this Thomas Frank Spurs side, you know, another win, another clean sheet. Perhaps this could be a decent campaign for them in the Champions League. If you look at the run of games that they've got, the teams that they're facing, they might be fancying themselves. Maybe they could be dark horses this time.
Yeah, David, we've spoken about Arsenal's strength in depth. Do Spurs have that same quality? Because we saw last season just how many injuries they got and how it decimated the squad and the performance of the squad. Do they have enough right now as it stands to compete in two big competitions in Premier League and Champions League?
Well, to answer your question, have they got as much as Arsenal? Probably not, because they've not invested to the same level. They've not been in the Champions League for as long as them. But they do have some depth now. If you look at the players they brought off the bench, including Kolo Muani, who's a really high-level new signing, Brennan Johnson, who scored so many goals for them, and so on. I mean, it wasn't the most convincing performance, and Villarreal, who are a very good side, did have chances of their own. But to get off to a winning start in a group that really sees them only tested a couple of times later in the competition. You know, they've got a group that they should come through. Optimism will be high at Spurs that they can do well in Europe for the second season in a row. And Shaban rightly points out, Lucas Bergvall, what a talent in his first season. He looks to have got even better this time round. He's only 19 years old. And yeah, they're posing a threat across the pitch. Thomas Frank's made a really good start. I think that's 9 goals scored, none conceded other than that Bournemouth match that they lost. And so, yeah, I mean, they'll expect to go far in the competition, but there are bigger beasts than them and better sides. That doesn't mean to say that they can't challenge them. But the way that they have recruited in their own right this summer, and maybe it's an ongoing process at Spurs because there's still positions that they need to address, but they look in pretty decent shape so far. And in Frank, they've maybe got a more measured style of play than the sort of all-out intensity that we saw under Ange Postecoglou that ultimately, you're right, was ravaged by injuries, and they'll be desperate to avoid that again this time round.
Yeah, Thomas Frank making his Champions League debut. Shaban, do you feel as though we're starting to see his vision and the way he wants Tottenham to play come to life now?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly in the first kind of half hour, the first 35 minutes of the game, you saw that kind of style. They were passing, they were popping the ball about nicely. There was a lot of togetherness from that Spurs side. It did fizzle out, in the second half of the game. What started as a very positive performance started to burn out with Spurs. That would concern me slightly. Again, perhaps that squad depth, they need a little bit more on the bench, more support maybe coming in towards the end of the second half of the game. But at the end of the day, it's job done for Spurs. There were some really positives to take away from that game.
Yeah, there was. On to Brighton and the South Coast they march. OK, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll take a look at more of the sports stories in the morning newspapers, including this in the eye as Alexander Isak prepares for his Liverpool debut. Arne Slot is defending their summer spending spree. Stay with us.
Criticising the system, I don't think so. And we also know every team that Pep's manager, he tries to overload the midfield, he tries out numbers or whatever the system might be. But he's made the point here, I think it's a pretty honest interview, that they should have done better for the goals, as simple as that. They should have been sharper in their own play going forward. But I said it earlier, this United team, they lack that real quality. They struggle defensively, the midfield, run about United breaking the press. But when teams get United look all over the place. I think they're just United are an average team, an average Premier League team. The stats will tell you that. And I'm going back to last season as well. So again, we're sitting here. United's record as well against any of the top 6 teams or whatever is really, really poor. They can't seem to compete. They'll have maybe a good 45 minutes or a good hour. Bruno makes the point here. They kind of done it quite well against Arsenal, but they lost the game at home to Arsenal. Ultimately, you are playing for Man United to win football matches. And when you say we're coming up against quality teams, yeah, but that's part of the challenge. When you sign that contract, you're going, yeah, it's no good just beating the teams, the lesser teams. You're playing for Man United to compete against other good teams, and United can't do that. Whether they're not good enough, there's obviously issues. Talk about the system, but the manager's come in. He's sticking to his guns. He's not budging. But the results, and we look at the points per game and the goals for, goals against.
So that's a concern.
Yeah, it does concern me. It's not good reading. I came here today, and sometimes United with a bit of history, they've done it last year. But as soon as the game starts, you're looking, going, oh, you're worried. But you get that feeling against when they're playing any decent team. But even when you think, we said they've scored 4 goals, and we think United are a bit better going forward now. 2 of them were penalties. So they're not exactly a free-scoring team and going, listen, we might score 2 or 3 and we might give up a few. It's like almost the same problems as last year. And what we were told, the new manager needs a pre-season. He needs his own players. I don't know how much they've spent. Another good few
Over
hundred
200
million.
million, yeah.
200 million.
Over 200 million.
Over 200 million. So we keep making excuses, but at some stage you go, well, when are we going to see the signs? Now, people say give manager time, and of course. But we saw Slot going into Liverpool last year. Liverpool might have been a kind of a better team at United at that stage, but he ends up winning the league. You look at other managers, you see Frank going into Spurs, you go, am I going to see signs of Spurs improving? And yeah. So how long do you keep waiting when this team are probably getting a point a game? That's what you'd probably...
But those managers that you talked about, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this as well, guys. You talked about Thomas Frank, known for being an adaptable, flexible manager. Slot sort of didn't try and change too much when he went in and almost just tried to tweak Jurgen Klopp's system. So
yeah, my worry is...
I think the problem is with the manager and the tactics he's deploying.
But my worry is with the players now, and Bruno's talking there, is that maybe the players haven't got that much faith in it. So as much as the manager's going, this is where we're going, lads, and at the start you're probably going, yeah, new manager, new ideas, something different. But as the results don't come and you keep getting beaten or you're struggling against the better teams, if the players start doubting this system, and we saw the goals are given up today where some are going, some aren't, some are pressing, he's making loads of changes, he's chopping it back with the Maguire at the back, he's bringing Casemiro, and it's like, it's like they're going around in circles, this United group. And if the players have lost faith in what the manager's saying, because usually what you want, you're sitting in the dressing room, when the manager says something, you're like, yeah, I'm all in. But if some of the players are now starting to doubt that, I'm not saying they are, but when you see some of the goals they're giving away, you're going, are you all fully on board with this manager going, listen, yeah, whatever you say, we'll do it. We'll run through brick walls for you. I don't quite see it yet. I hope it can change, but we've given the benefit of when he first came in. He didn't want to come in. He said he wanted to come into pre-season, but obviously United said, you've got to come in. So results weren't great. You go, okay, listen, first pre-season, give me a pre-season, give me my players. And United are throwing money. And if these are brilliant coaches, you go, well, when are you going to coach these players to make them better? Because some of the decision-making some of these players are making as well, which you've seen today, is like, it's just all wrong. And then not having the strength. But we see Shaw for the first goal now. Shaw's an international footballer. For him to get caught out like that, you're looking going, do you know, Shaw, I think Shaw's been getting away with murder for years at United. Always injured, never quite fit. We make excuses. Then he gets a few games under his belt. And he's making decisions like he doesn't even want to tackle people. Like, we looked at all the stats in the Derby match there. Not one yellow card. And we're having the big build-up. The Manchester Derby, the weather's, it's raining. It's like set up for a few tackles are flying in. You're getting people. And Man United walk off the pitch. No, I'm sick of repeating myself. You walk up and you go, it's a derby game. How are you physically? You're shattered. You shouldn't be able to get out of bed for a week after a tough game. And they're all walking off and there's not one yellow card.
First time ever in a
but you've got to be set up right, though. In terms of Man City's strengths, their strengths in midfield would dominate the game.
But they're good at tackling for the goals, Micah.
Yeah, of course. But what's happening is they've got 2 in midfield against Man City's 3 in midfield. How are you supposed to cope with that? And we're talking about Foden, Rodri and Reinders. We're the best midfielders in European football.
We've all played in games where you're a midfielder. The system you're up against, they do have an extra midfielder, but you try and compensate with someone. But doesn't mean say you don't tackle.
That's the problem.
You've got an extra centre-back.
You've got to, the centre-back has to jump
if
you're going to play.
Which is what Bruno was saying.
Exactly that. But what's happening is they're not jumping at the correct times.
Right, well, you get that. You sort that out with your team. That's not a new buzzword. We jump. Try tackling.
Yeah.
Try hitting somebody. Like that. The football's a physical game.
But
we love it.
You have to. I agree with what you're saying, to be a bit more physical, but you have to be in the right positions. Going out there against these players who can keep the ball for fun, you can't get anywhere near it. And if you've got 5 at the back just holding it, and you've got 2 in midfield running around like headless chickens,
the reason they can't get near...
it's impossible to get near...
But the reason they can't get near me is because they're not mobile enough, they're not fast enough, they're not aggressive enough. They're really good in the ball, but if you gave me time in the ball, I'd still be playing. But part of the game is people closing you down, or being aggressive, or hitting you late, make it physically demanding.
I agree, but we talk about systems all the time, but I genuinely believe Man United would be a better team if they played 4-3-3. I do. I think they've got the players for it now. I think this system is hindering them. They don't know what they're doing. When they're on the ball, they're trying to make something happen. The manager's trying to coach them, but it's not working. They're not.
The only validation they're getting in this system, in the 3-4-3, is when they switch the play, it looks good.
Correct.
But there's nothing else.
Or a counter-attack.
Or a fast break. Fast break buzzword. It's how they are effective. It's how they're effective. They either attacked really quickly or they switch the play with the 2. You spoke about the 2 midfielders, right, in front of the back 3. They're so stiff and rigid, and there's no kind of offset shape to them. So, like for the first goal, if Ugarte doesn't jump out level with Bruno Fernandes and he offsets, I don't think that goal happens.
What was at fault today? Was it the system or the way it was deployed? Are Manchester United good enough to play in this way, or should they be just throwing it out? Nice easy one for you to start with.
He's not going to. I mean, when Ruben Amorim first came, I was quite heartened by the fact that he was going to play 3 at the back, because I felt that they didn't have 2 centre-backs that were good enough to play in a 4. But every single time I watch Manchester United, he changes the back 3 every single game, which tells you he's not sure about which back 3 he should play. And he doesn't just change the back 3, he changes the back 5. So you either have different wing-backs or you have different centre-backs. I mean, the amount of times you see Dillick go over to the right-hand side, Maguire coming on, every single match. So, look, system, no system, there are a lot of individual errors out there today as well. Luke Shaw had one of his worst games that I've seen him have. He's had a pretty decent start to the season, but all 3 goals he could have done better. You've just shown the one there where he was square. On the second goal, he was, he got obviously, done by Haaland, and on the 3rd goal he leaves it short for Maguire, who then obviously doesn't help himself either by the pass. So, yeah, they just had a really bad day at the back. But it was a bit of a nothing from United. I mean, they had little moments, 15 minutes in the first half. at the start, and they had 5 minutes in the second half before City scored. But look, they're 14th in the league. It's only 4 games in. And we all said at the end of last season, we can't be getting into October where Manchester United are 14th, 15th in the league, or else the manager will be in trouble. Now, there's a few games to go before that, but they have to start winning quickly.
Against Manchester United. Were you surprised in any way with the scoreline?
I must say, Poppy, I'm not surprised. And even though I'm on the cruise, I'm still working. I just want to know when Grella, the captain of the ship's going to get on the boat. But we can have that discussion after. For me, it was a game that had more significance and importance to Manchester City than it did to Manchester United because of Pep Guardiola and the questions that we have of Manchester City and the high standards that they've set. And if they didn't win this game today, it definitely would have put a bit more spotlight with Pep Guardiola and this rebuild and Manchester City that people expect them to be competing for a Premier League title this year. Again, when you look at the game overall, Manchester City didn't need to play fantastically well to get the result. I will probably say they were still in second gear the entirety of the game. They played through Manchester United easy at times, and I would say it was a comfortable win. You know, Manchester City got the job done in a Manchester derby. Erling Haaland scored as we saw, and that takes him now to top tied with goal scorers in the Manchester derby alongside Sergio Aguero and Wayne Rooney. More questions than answers again for Manchester United.
Nige, my worry is this. I've personally seen enough of Amorim. Obviously, I think you have as well. A lot of people are frustrated. But the other camp, the other side, says he needs time. He needs another window. He needs more patience. And I can understand all that. But the worry is, as an ex-player, if you're a player sitting in that changing room, you've got 8 wins from 30. Are you still listening to the inspirational stuff he says? Are you still listening to the new ideas he has at training? Are you still trusting the manager at that point when everything he's told you up to this point hasn't led to anything successful? The players haven't gotten better. The results haven't gotten better. So as a player in the changing room, are you still following his lead?
Greg, that's a great point. And that's my worry now. I look at everything that's happened so far, and we talked about Kobe Mainoo. We had a discussion in regards to him, how Ruben Amorim came out and said that Kobe Mainoo is fighting for place in the team against Bruno Fernandes. And then the situation with Kobe Mainoo maybe going on loan, and that didn't quite happen. And then you look at today's game, Bruno Fernandes, we've always critiqued and criticised, saying that we see Bruno Fernandes, to get the best out of him, put him higher up that pitch, put him in the final third to make things happen. It makes no sense to me that Bruno Fernandes is having to drop so deep, playing in front of a back four and spraying and making passes. You get the best out of him in that number 10 role. You look at the first goal they conceded. Phil Foden literally walked past Bruno Fernandes, and it's not Bruno Fernandes' fault. He doesn't have the defensive instinct of a midfielder that plays in that deep role, doesn't sniff danger in those moments of where to go, where my midfielder is, how to track a runner, because it's not his natural whereabouts. So you look at how Phil Foden scored that goal. You look at Kobe Mainoo coming on as a sub. There's so many more questions still at Manchester United, and you and I have questioned the back three. When you look at that back three, especially Erling Haaland's second goal, how Luke Shaw's so tucked in, how they took such crazy risks without having a real organised back three. Erling Haaland runs from his halfway line and scores very comfortably, where I've always been very critical about it, saying that the back three that he has just still isn't good enough. And now you do start to worry, Grella, in what you say, that are these players really buying into Ruben Amorim's system? Do they really believe in this manager now? Are they starting to lose faith? I do like to be someone that likes to have a glass half full. But right now, it's becoming very difficult when you look at this situation right now. I personally don't believe that the players are really buying into it as much as they should. And I feel that Manchester United really are starting to head backwards instead of forwards. And just to add a stat to that, Grella, Manchester United have lost more games in the Premier League 10 months than Arsenal have lost in the previous 3 seasons combined.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And also the way they approach the game. There's only probably 3 or 4 teams in the world that can go away to Manchester City and just say, oh, we're going to play our way. We're going to play our system, and we're going to play them toe-to-toe. Do you think the performance today was a little naive, the way that they just set up to play their way? Manchester United set up to play their system, their way. And when knowing that Manchester City sort of weakness is on the counterattack, is on if you defend properly and then you can go quick, you can hurt them instead of playing in sort of an open game that they played. You think the approach also was a little naive from Amorim and the boys?
Well, we know how he's going to approach things, and I think the thing we've got to be careful, Grella. You and I have played in derbies. Derbies only have two ways. They can either be very good or very bad. There's no in between in a derby game, and it was the Manchester derby. And for me, I'd have to say that, again, I found it was very comfortable and very easy for Pep Guardiola's side to play for Manchester United because, again, there hasn't really been a consistency. How many times have you seen Ruben Amorim put out the same starting lineup, the same team for, let's just say, a period of 10 games or even 12 games? Consistently changing things, it makes it very harder for players to get into a groove. Decisions that he makes leaves for more questions about Ruben Amorim, and he's very stubborn to his system. Again, it wasn't a fantastic performance by Manchester City, but they got the job done, and it leaves more questions than answers in everything that Ruben Amorim is doing. And you can clearly see the frustrations in the players now, and I think that it might not be too long till the players start to go the other way and really not to start to have faith or belief in his system and what he's trying to achieve at Manchester United.
Yeah, it's been poor, hasn't it? Obviously, we watched them lose to Grimsby, and then it wasn't much better against Burnley, and today it got even worse. For Manchester City, on the other hand, Nigel, they've had a rocky start to the season under Pep Guardiola, and a lot of people were questioning Pep, like, is this the end? Has the magic gone between him and the team? Could this really jumpstart their season now, do you think?
It's a great win. It's a confident win. It's a Manchester derby. Great for Pep Guardiola. But again, just like Grella said, there are still some vulnerabilities in this Manchester City side. And I think that they'll face way more tougher tests as the season goes on than they did today with a Manchester United side that were very disappointing. But it's a great win. I think it's also great for Phil Foden to score a goal of everything that's been said. And especially with the England squad and the World Cup coming up, you know, people really want Phil Foden to step it up. He's really adored by many football fans in England and people in the press, and they want him to really push himself to get in that squad. So it's a great way to announce himself back with a goal today. And again, a player who played really well, I thought so, was Jeremy Doku. Looked like he was having fun. I think we saw glimpses of Doku when he first got to Manchester City today, just shaking and baking and, you know, leaving defenders for dead. And he had a real fantastic performance today. But I do still see a lot of vulnerabilities in this Manchester City side, but it's a very big win for them in one of their greatest rivals in Manchester United, and they can take a lot of confidence from this game today moving forward.
All right, Captain, before you go off on your cruise and start having a good time, before we let you go...
I'm not the captain. You're the captain in that outfit, mate.
No, the captain can't afford this outfit. Listen, let me ask you a question. Is there anything before you go you want to say to Gigi Donnarumma or his fans on the performance of today? Because I did see one of the saves he made was fantastic.
Wow. He made one save. He did his job, Grella. He dived and pushed the ball around the post. That's what he's supposed to do. And let's not act like he was completely tested a lot. He did the save from Mbomo, and I think he also did the save from Sesko when Sesko went through and took a ball on his chest. Did what he had to do. Just came out, made himself look big like this, brother. Yeah, just spread yourself.
So how would you rate his performance?
Did his job.
Did his job.
I can't give him a rate. He was barely tested. He did okay.
By the way, Nigel, isn't it funny how Grella never wants to talk about goalkeepers unless it's an Italian goalkeeper? Like they never come to the front of his mind unless he can give some credit to an Italian in some way.
Yeah, 100%. You know, he can't hide his bias and favouritism for his Italian friends.
Look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us are Jonathan Liu, the Guardian sports writer, and Miguel Delaney, the Independent's chief football writer. Welcome to you both. Before we chat, let's quickly run you through the back pages. Are you watching Ruben? Is the headline on the back of the Telegraph sports section. After Marcus Rashford scores twice to guide Barcelona past Newcastle. They also report that the Gallagher Premiership is set to suspend relegation, while Riyad Ahmed is also reported to have got the nod to be England's second spinner for the Ashes, possibly at the expense of Liam Dawson. Back with a bang is the Guardian's take on Rashford's man of the match performance. Elsewhere, they carry the story that former world 100-metre champion Fred Curley has become the latest big name to sign up for the controversial Enhanced Games. Marcus Rashford is front and centre on the back of the Sun as well. Just below is Erling Haaland, who reached a record 50 Champions League goals in his 49th match. 13 games faster than anyone else as Man City soar off Napoli in the Champions League. And in the Times Online, Jose Mourinho is back. and he returns to where it all began. He's the new Benfica boss, 25 years after a 10-game spell there previously. But is he now the altruistic one? Lots to discuss this evening, gents, but let's start with Marcus Rashford and his match-winning performance at St James's Park as Barcelona beat Newcastle. 2 goals from Marcus Rashford, Miguel. A fantastic performance under the watchful eye of the England manager. Rashford's back, isn't he?
It looks like it, yeah. Perfect stage for it, perfect performance, perfect crowd, given Tuchel was there, as you say. And I suppose even Rashford's selection in the last camp was maybe not quite questioned, but it's going to be a running debate, especially given form has been, well, I mean, he improved at Villa, obviously, but it's been a little in and out. And I think there's been an anticipation he needs an impact at Barcelona. And yeah, what an impact, especially in the Champions League. His first Champions League goals since 2021, which maybe says as much about Manchester United, to be fair, as it does about Rashford. But he really looked a player sharp. I mean, not just the 2 goals either, but the manner of the goals. One, a classic forwards header. The other, a brilliant long shot that actually Rashford really has in his armoury. And yeah, a brilliant display and perfect setting for it.
Jonathan, it was his first and second goals for Barcelona. He looks like he's playing with a smile on his face once again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the lesson of, I saw one of the newspapers had this headline, "Are you watching Ruben?" And I suppose there's a tendency to frame this all as some giant joke on Rúben Amorim. But I think the lesson of Rashford's, I hesitate to call it a resurgence because he's only played 4 games, but the fact that he does look comfortable with his football, that he looks physically well, that he's trying things with the ball, which is what he does when he's at his best. It shows the importance that players don't just exist in a vacuum. They need a culture and a system and an environment that gets the best out of their talents. Hansi Flick, I thought, a lot of people thought he was basically going to use Rashford as kind of an impact sub against tiring defences, but Flick's given him responsibility. He's put him on set pieces. He's given him starts. He's told him to take defenders on, to try and improve and be a leader to young players like Lamine Yamal. So that's the sort of lesson to take from all this, that if you take a player out of the kind of the dead hand of Manchester United with its carousel of changing systems and managers, you can still get players to flourish. The number of players that have left United and flourished is testament to that.
It is, Miguel, and the way Rashford is playing, Thomas Tuchel will be very pleased by what he's seeing with the World Cup on the horizon.
Yeah, completely. I mean, he's responded to the challenge, I suppose. And I mean, there might actually be an element of fortuitousness about this as well. Because let's not forget, if Barcelona themselves weren't such a basket case, really, I mean, they've been a mess of a club behind the scenes for years now, with all sorts of financial issues. And of course, this summer, their first choice for exactly the sort of role they signed Rashford for was Nico Williams Jr., the Spain international, scored against England in the Euro 2024 final, was supposed to play against Arsenal the other day, but was injured. And the reason that didn't go through, I mean, there's been all sorts of rumours and speculation and reporting about it, but one of the kind of main explanations has been that Barcelona wanted some sort of clause put in there in case they couldn't register him for the Spanish league, because you have to meet certain financial constraints to actually register new players. They had that last year with Dani Olmo. Williams refused, and that basically opened the way for, I mean, okay, despite the size of Rashford's wages, it was going to be a cut price deal compared to what they were going to go with Williams. And suddenly, Rashford, I mean, I remember first hearing that the first time that Barcelona were in for him was actually the day of Barcelona's 4-0 defeat to Liverpool in May 2029, where, there was meetings between the kind of representatives and all that sort of thing. And so Barca do have a long-standing interest in the player, and he finally got that dream. It was the one he always wanted, I suppose, because another transfer failed. And yeah, there's an opportunity to be seized here, as you say, especially with that World Cup at the end of the season. And so far, in the Champions League at least, he's really grabbed it, because that was a statement display tonight.
Yeah, Rashford then taking his opportunity at Barcelona. And the majority of the back pages have focused on Rashford rather than Newcastle, but we have to talk about Newcastle. Let's just take a look at the Daily Express. Rash ruins Toon party, they say. And Jonathan, for Newcastle, Eddie Howe, the manager, made some pretty big decisions in this one. He dropped the match winner from the last game and their record signing, Nick Woltemade. Do you feel like that was the right decision, or did that hinder them not having a recognised number 9 to start this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think in hindsight, maybe it did. I think the issue with Voltemade is that, obviously his potential is really clear. We saw that at the weekend. He's an X-factor player who brings them something different. The question at the moment is over his physical conditioning. He has not played 90 minutes for a month. He's not played 90 minutes for Newcastle yet. And I suppose that, I would imagine that's the reason why he was left out here. And, I've seen a lot of, kind of instant snap reactions saying, oh, well, Anthony Gordon's not a number 9. He's clearly talented enough. He can clearly develop his game in that area. The questions are, how long is that going to take? And what else are you taking out of his game in the meantime? It's obviously a difficult decision. The fact that Johan Wissa's not in, so that Johan Wissa's not fit either. And that sort of 35 minutes at the start of the game when Newcastle, I think, really had a lot of opportunities on the break against Barcelona. Those are the kind of periods that they haven't been capitalising on. And I think partly that's because they haven't been finishing their chances.
Yeah, it was a better night, though, for Manchester City. They got their win, didn't they, against Napoli? 2-0 winners there. Let's just take a look at this, because Erling Haaland, like you can see here in the sports pages of the Daily Telegraph, he is absolutely formidable. The fastest of 50 Champions League goals. He's done it in 49 appearances, Miguel, 13 quicker than Ruud van Nistelrooy. He seems to be head and shoulders above anything that this competition has ever seen.
Yeah, and never more needed, of course, as well, because City, they had started the season a bit erratically. Obviously, there was the 4-0 win against Wolves, and then the nature of 2 defeats after that, particularly I think the Brighton one raised questions. And there's obviously been all sorts of discussion about, a new team, internalising Guardiola's approach, how long that's going to take, whether they're vulnerable. And then amidst all that, and it is an element of uncertainty, you have the absolute certainty of when Haaland is put on goal or the ball is really put anywhere near him. And go, well, bar that one chance against United at the weekend. But beyond that, I mean, he's as close to a guarantee as you're going to get. I mean, I think for everyone else, or for any defences facing him, the performance against Manchester United was ominous. And okay, it can be put into the context of United's difficulties, but it was more the sharpness of Haaland, how hungry he looked. And he only continued that tonight against Napoli, pretty much killing that game. Obviously, the red card did kind of frame it a little bit, but when a player like this has any sort of opening, yeah, he's as dangerous as they come. And he very much looks in the mood, and that mood, I suppose, is all the more... it's all the more lively, maybe, given this Sunday he faces a team in Arsenal who he's had a little bit of maybe personal edge with over the past few years, all the kind of the stay humble stuff, the battles with Gabriel. And I think that could be quite a sight and quite a duel this weekend, because, yeah, Haaland looks in the mood, as he showed now for 2 games in a row. Yeah, that's going to be a spicy one. And it was Pep Guardiola who was allowed to be able to take him off, before the end of the match. So it's not like he's going to have fresh legs for that Arsenal game come Sunday, Jonathan. I mean, now this has some added spice to it with these two going at the top of the... Premier League and battling it out that way, but also battling it out in Europe. How big now is Super Sunday, Arsenal against City?
It is. I know. I mean, you look at the last kind of 2 or 3 years of these Arteta-Guardiola duels, and they have been among, I think, the highest quality games that we've seen in the Premier League over the last decade. In terms of quality, maybe not in terms of drama or excitement all the time, but we've seen, in terms of sustained quality, as high as potentially the City, the Guardiola Klopp games previously. I think what is going to mark this out, I think, and has marked this out is the physicality of it. You see there is a little bit of aggro, there is a little bit of needle between the two coaches, between these two sides, and this is ultimately, I think, a game that is going to be decided by very fine margins. Like Miguel talked about Haaland coming back to form. I think part of the reason is that the service that he's getting this season is so much better and so much cleaner than it was last season. The return of Foden to form seems to have something to do with that. The signing of Tierney Reinders, I think he's getting the ball a lot earlier, and I think that's when he's at his most deadly.
And Miguel, in the Star, they've made reference of the fact of course, Haaland's nifty 50, but also KDB in his return wrecked. Kevin De Bruyne coming off in the first half an hour, having to be sacrificed almost because of that red card for Napoli.
Yeah, a shame just in terms of, I suppose, the residents. Maybe City fans don't see it as a shame, given they know exactly what De Bruyne can do to you if on form. That wasn't allowed here in what felt the most Antonio Conte decision possible, pure pragmatism. No matter the potential romance or impact of a player like De Bruyne maybe offering a bit of magic, he wasn't willing to take the risk. Obviously, De Bruyne, having been such a brilliant driving midfielder for so much of his career, he's in his mid-30s now, not going to press in the way he used to. Conte needed the legs and he needed the security, so he took him off. So yeah, I think also, given this is a show about newspapers, it probably ruined a lot of journalist sidebars for this game. Suddenly, that was those were thrown out.
Jonathan smiling there. What did we learn then from this first round of matches, Jonathan? Who looked to be the movers and shakers early on, and who the teams we might see in the latter stages?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard to say after one round of games. I think the team that probably looked the most ominous was Paris Saint-Germain, dispatching Atalanta last night. I mean, I think especially given the injuries they had, that they weren't at full strength, but Kvaratskhelia sort of tearing Atalanta apart. That I think was an ominous sign to the rest of the continent, to the rest of the competition, that they're not going to be giving up their title without a fight. I think the English teams have performed pretty well. I think there is a certain resentment on the continent at the increasing financial dominance of the Premier League, and I think you see a lot of teams have gone out there possibly with a point or two to prove against them. But I think by and large, the Premier League teams have acquitted themselves quite well.
Miguel, what have we learnt then?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about the new competition and this stage of it is actually the learnings are actually quite limited at this stage, because as we saw from last season with Paris Saint-Germain, the European champions themselves, you can get off to a very bad start and recover. Obviously, a big theme of the competition is, as Jonathan mentioned there, English power. It's the first time in history there have been 6 clubs from one country in the competition. Now, 4 wins, 2 defeats. Those defeats at least explainable. Chelsea had a difficult opening game against Bayern. Bayern didn't seem absolutely completely convincing, must be said. And Newcastle, given all their issues this season or this summer, then had a difficult opening game against Barcelona, albeit a Barca without Lamine Yamal. I think a lot of that went as expected. And I have to say, I do have criticisms and a few reservations about this new Champions League format, just in the context of why it exists. It exists basically because the super clubs were pushing for a Super League and they wanted more games throughout the season. It's created a parallel league. That's why I think Arsenal's strength and depth is going to be key this season. But it does give also mid to lower clubs, mid to lower financially resourced clubs, more games in Europe. Now, while that can have an effect on domestic leagues, it also means you get quite nice stories this week. Like, for example, Carragher coming back against Benfica, like the Belgian side, Union Saint-Gilloise, beating PSV Eindhoven, and what felt a real kind of shift among some of the lower leagues there. That is what the Champions League and Old European Cup is supposed to be about, that vitality and variety to it. It's maybe just a pity, because of this financial imbalance that we're talking about, it doesn't necessarily last as long into the tournament. But as far as kind of real education from this, it's going to take us a few months.
Yeah, money does talk in this competition, doesn't it? Miguel, Jonathan, thank you for the moment. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sporting stories in the morning's newspapers, including this in The Guardian, as the pressure continues to grow on Graham Potter at West Ham.
A warm welcome. He's been given one by Benfica fans and is giving his all to them in return.
So Jesse, your voice is gone.
Yeah, but it's not from the game. It's from the training yesterday.
Plenty to shout about and talk about, starting with a win exactly 25 years to the day he was first appointed by Benfica. That was his first job as a manager. Now he's back after a quarter of a century of silverware.
It's been a Hollywood story, your story. This is another Hollywood scene. 25 years exactly since the day you started your managerial career at Benfica, and here you are with a 3-0 win.
I'm honest, I always thought I would be back to Portugal. but I always thought I would come back to the national team. I knew that national team would come sooner or later. It came before. I couldn't accept. I was thinking one day it will happen. I think it's a natural consequence of my career. It happened to be Benfica, a giant club.
At the Benfica training ground, things are suddenly different. There never used to be police on duty here. Now there are. On Friday evening, all was relatively quiet until he had an away game to get to, so didn't stop for the waiting cameras until, that is, he saw us from Sky Sports. Good luck.
You good?
Yeah, all good.
All
yeah,
good?
Good. Yeah, good.
Oh, good. I cannot speak. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
No,
Good to see you. See you later.
Ciao, manhã.
First of all, I want to thank you to be here. You follow my career everywhere. I have no problem to say you are a good friend. I can be friend with journalists, and I thank you to be here.
Mourinho, of course, is hot news. Paparazzi pursuits included. He looms large in every paper. Double-page spreads, back pages, front pages, words and images everywhere, and online and social media too.
Followed everywhere, front page of all the papers, lead story on the news.
But the good thing, good or bad, but that's the way I am. He knows he's going to have a very simple job, because I don't want to know people that writes good about me. I don't want to know people that writes bad about me. I don't want drafts every day. I don't know what is going on in the press. That's the way I am. Congratulations, you have an easy life with me.
We love Jose, we'll support Jose, so yeah, let's go.
I think he's going to do good work. We hope so.
We demand that he brings the results, of course, and we hope that he brings results. And we believe in his capacity to bring back the club to the stage that we used to.
Jose Mourinho back in Portugal and back in the Champions League. A trip to Stamford Bridge is just around the corner. That's a very far cry from this match, played at this small traditional stadium in front of just over 6,000 people.
And back where you belong in the Champions League. How much are you looking forward to?
I belong to all the three competitions: Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. I belong to all of them. But it's good to be back at this high level. Again, it's another curiosity. The first match, I go home. My son, to go to that match, he will walk 5 minutes from home, and he will be in the stadium. So he's also curious. But again, we have to forget feelings. The reality is that we lost 3 points in a match where we couldn't, but it happened. We need to get him. We need to get this point somewhere.
So his new job is off to a winning start. He'll be hoping there's more to smile about at Chelsea next Wednesday.
Gary, see you in London next week, man.
Gary Cottrell, Sky Sports, Portugal.